What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly, actually during the midday. Right there, on that left, that is your boy Joey Options right there, and I'm Sharif, and we're gonna wait for everyone to come on over from the other chat. Shout out to Adara, shout out to Fox, Juan Padilla as well, Mateus Lane joining, Joe and I, shout out to him. Glad to have you on board. We got Tisha, or Tisha. How do I say it? Is it Tisha or is it Tisha? Tag me, because I always call your levels out. For the small cap gapper, the Piper, Alaric B, Stock Up, and Jeremy Newman. We got the Blue Baron himself and El Sol, Benjamin Wiki. He's wicking in these trades, baby. Benton C, COYG, baby, but it was a tough weekend, obviously, for Arsenal. Bax, we got Masked Crusader drop trades. We got Elon in the chat as well. Raza Jafari and Pickle Jim. Paul Goodson and Pratham. Dexter Font. Gale, Gale, that's it. Big O, the Big O, I see, okay. Dino, we got Mr. Love Shack right after the Big O, okay, that's interesting. Mary L, we got Jerry Garcia and Sam M, FX Options, Oscarito, Wes Y'all, and then the last, but certainly not least, small cap gapper trader, Dad Trader. What's up to everybody? Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, I had to tell Sharif, hey man, stop texting me in the morning, ask me what I'm wearing, because sure enough, yeah, we gotta show him what's going on here. So yeah, you know what I mean. So we gotta figure something out here.
We didn't plan it.
Yeah. So
the only thing that we got different is I got brown boots on. You got black.
I got the black boots on. Yeah. We got a little difference. Yeah.
A little bit different.
We gotta figure something out on that front. No questioning that.
Good time.
Yeah, good stuff, brother. Yeah. How was the weekend? Good.
It was good, man. It was good. Went over to buddies, high school buddy yesterday. Watched the game.
Nice.
Watched Katina Man's boys get knocked out. Watched Neil's boys absolutely kill it yesterday. What else did we do? Then I got my nephew and my brother-in-law in from LA.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, they escaped some of the well. It's not in there anyway, but yeah, they got a lot of opinions on that, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a tough look out there. Fire's destroying a lot, hopefully everybody stays safe out there on the West Coast and just avoid the fires. I know I've seen some guys on Snapchat, Sharif, like just driving their dirt bikes around whatever the town of Palladius or whatever, how you ever pronounce it.
Palisades.
Yeah, Palisades. And it's not a good look, unfortunately. A lot of people,
It's ugly. It's ugly from so many different levels. I'm sure we'll probably chime in on it in the 3 hours that we got today. We got a sick lesson, Joseph, but we want to cover the
let's get into that there, Sharif, real quick before we send it off back to you. So, guys, let's see what we got on the session. I mean, it's a little bit of a mixed bag here, and for some reason, energy at the top of its class today, up about 2.27% here. So, yeah, the best performing sector thus far, and then materials in second place, up about 1.4% as well, too. And then we have XLV sitting in third place, only up about 0.6% there, guys. But yeah, the utilities at the bottom of its class here, down about 1.8 or 1.9%. And then we got the tech sector. You can use XLK as the vehicle on that front. We're down about 1.3% on that front. And then we have consumer discretionary, So XLY, guys, down about 0.3 or just under 0.4% there. So a little bit of a mixed bag. We're getting these breakouts somewhat, Sharif. I mean, Tesla's been trading extremely well this morning. But as for the overall indices like Qs and SPY, it's breakout, sell it back off, breakout, sell it back off. And then we now have Apple hovering slightly above VWAP. But as of right now, guys, you got to find the strength. You got to look for those strong sectors. But let's see what Sharif has for the lesson.
All right, we're talking about these moving average convergence, divergence, MACD for short. We're talking about the crossovers today. So hopefully by the end of the lesson, we'll be able to spot some potential entry and exit points using the moving average convergence, divergence, which, as we know from previous lessons, or maybe we don't, this is a momentum oscillator, so it's completely different than how we would using these moving averages, and we use them a little bit differently. So let's get right to it. As we always do, let's explain the concept from a high level. MACD, as I alluded to earlier, stands for moving average convergence divergence. It's a technical indicator composed of two lines. I'll show it to you in a second on the actual chart. But the first one is the MACD line. This represents the difference between two exponential moving averages. We don't need to go into the details of what those EMAs are, just to know that the MACD line represents the difference between two different exponential moving averages. So as we can already see from the get-go, it's using moving averages in order to base its signals. The signal line, the second line on your MACD chart, that's a shorter EMA of the MACD line itself. You can see how this gets awfully derivative. The MACD line represents a difference between two EMAs, and then the signal line is a shorter moving average of the MACD line. So it becomes very circular here in a second. So the shorter EMA of the MACD line, the signal line, it smooths out the fluctuations. The MACD line is calculated by subtracting the 26-period EMA from the 12-period EMA. That's how we get the first line. The calculation creates that MACD line, as we alluded to. The 9-day EMA of the MACD line is called the signal line. So the signal line is a 9-day exponential moving average of the signal line. Again, very circular, very derivative here. And that's typically what we're going to see. It's going to be on the bottom of the chart. Okay, your baseline is going to be that zero print. So if you're above it, we'll talk what that means. But for today's purposes, we're really focusing on the crossover between the lines as our signals for entry and exit. And so this is kind of what it looks like there. This includes the histogram. The histogram is just basically the difference, the space, how far apart the MACD line and the signal line is. So you can kind of obviously see how far they are by looking at the difference between the two lines. But, you know, if you want a more accurate representation of how wide or narrow the space is getting between the two lines, you need only refer to the histogram line right there. So the histogram shows you the space, the distance between the two lines on the MACD. So understanding the crossovers, let's talk about that. The key to the MACD crossover strategy lies where these two lines intersect. There are two main crossovers to watch out for here. The bullish crossover. We've seen this before using moving averages, the 50 and the 200 with the golden cross and the death cross. It's kind of similar here. We're looking for bullish and bearish crossovers. The bullish crossover is when the MACD line crosses above the signal line, so goes from south to north, crossing it from the bottom to the top. This is suggesting to you a shift towards an uptrend and a potentially good time to buy. We're explaining everything at a very basic level here. It's not always that simple. The bearish crossover, kind of the opposite of that. The MACD line crosses below the signal line from north to south. This indicates a possible downtrend, suggesting it might be time to sell or hold off on buying. And this is kind of what we're seeing over here. We're going down, lower highs, lower lows. All of a sudden, we get that signal with the MACD line crossing above the signal line. And then lo and behold, what do we actually get? We get a gap up. Now, we haven't broken above, obviously, on LinkedIn. This is back in the day. Remember LinkedIn before Microsoft bought it? This is back in the day, this is below the upper trend line as well, but we kind of have, what could be the beginning ingredients of a breakout there with the MACD line crossing above the signal, and you also have a decided gap to the upside. This is the exact opposite. This is the bearish crossover now. We're moving along our merry way. I don't know what stock this is. Doesn't really matter, but we get that signal line where the MACD line, the signal where the MACD line crosses below the signal line, telling us possibly it could be time to sell our position or time to short or not to add at this particular level, okay? So you're taking a look at the chart. So imagine a stock chart with the MACD indicator displayed below. Let's say the price has been down lately, but the MACD line starts to rise and crosses above the signal line. This bullish crossover might be a signal, or might signal to you, I should say, a buying opportunity as the momentum seems to be shifting upwards. But remember, nothing in technical analysis is foolproof, and you should be always looking for other indicators, price action, volume, whatever other indicator you want to use as confirmation. The more indicators you have pointing in one direction or in the same direction, the stronger your case should be. And it works both for bears and bulls. Okay, so the MACD line, or the MACD crossover, I should say, is a helpful tool, but by no means a magic formula by any means. Here are some things to consider. Number one, false signals are an ever-present danger, and they happen often. Crossovers can sometimes be misleading, especially during choppy markets. Confirmation. As I kind of alluded to not that long ago, look for other technical indicators or price patterns, chart patterns, candlestick patterns, volume indicators, whatever. okay, to support the MACD signal before acting upon it. And you should also keep your eye, now we're not talking too much about this today, but you should also keep your eye on those overbought and oversold areas on the MACD. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's a momentum oscillator, like the RSI, like the stochastics, okay? And those bad boys, they have overbought and oversold conditions. We've seen that with the money flow index as well. So MACD kind of has that, but that's not the way we're looking at it today. We'll look at the overbought and oversold conditions and price action MACD divergence on a different day. Okay, well, we'll kind of allude to it at the end, but that's it. So beyond the basics, the zero line crossover, the MACD line itself, crossing above the zero line, which is kind of the break-even point there, can also indicate potential trend shifts. So you don't actually have to have a MACD signal line cross in and of itself. For example, the MACD line can move from negative to positive by crossing over that zero barrier, and that in and of itself could be, you know, I don't want to say it's an indicator itself, but it could be possibly foreshadowing what could be coming later. And divergences between price action and MACD cannot be overstated. Personally, this is how I use momentum oscillators rather than crossovers. This was suggested to me by Michael Moss, and what I mean here is when the price movement diverges from the MACD indicator, it can signal a trend reversal or the coming of a trend reversal. And what I mean by that is, for example, you have higher lows and higher highs on the price, but you got lower lows and lower highs on the MACD. They're not in sync, they're not in tune, they're diverging. Usually it's the indicator. Now, I don't want to say this with certainty, but usually it's the indicator that foreshadows what the price is going to do rather than the price foreshadowing what the indicator is going to do. Usually it's shown up on the MACD first, okay? And this is kind of what we're talking about there. We're making higher highs, higher lows on the MACD or on the price action, not so on the MACD. Look at this area a crest over here at $37, and then look what happens subsequent to the price. We get to about 38.5, but we don't make a higher high on the MACD. The MACD makes a lower high. And look what that foreshadows. That foreshadows the sell-off that occurred subsequent. So MACD or indicator price action divergence, awfully important, okay? And this is kind of the opposite of as well. We're making higher lows on the MACD, but we continue to make lower highs on the price. That is a problem. It's not conclusive, it's not definitive, but it is something definitely to be on the lookout for. So the final word here is the MACD crossover. Certainly a valuable tool for intraday traders. By understanding how it works and using it with caution, of course, you can improve your chances of identifying potential trading opportunities. Remember, practice with paper trading accounts before ever risking real capital. If you can't be profitable in the sim, what makes you think you can be profitable in real life, Adair?
BRKR, this is Brooker, basically providing Q4 2024 revenue expectations. They're expecting between $750 million, $970 million to $980 million here with solid bookings. They also provided their 2025 outlook, so they're seeing upper mid-single digit revenue growth for the next year. So BRKR, bit of a volume spike here as they provide some guidance in Q4 2024 sales expectations, guys. Back to you.
How's it going over there?
Yeah, everything's all right. So if we can pull up my screen here real quick. Someone in the chat asked me, Vici, we're going to take a look at SPY in just a second, but here we go with some TSLL. Just looking for relative strength in the overall market. A really strong opening drive here from Tesla. Pulls back, holds VWAP extremely well, and then you look for the continuation in the strength. So there it is on TSLL. Off to a half-decent start this morning, so can't complain about that. Entry can always be a little bit better. Let's see if we can continue here, how deep this pullback may be. The overall market does seem that it wants to come in a little bit here, so that's totally fine. We'll assess the situation as time goes on. But let's pull up some SPY here, because a lot of people want to talk about it. But let's zoom out first here from a daily perspective and see what we got going on the daily. And sure enough, as I opened up my scanners on the train this morning, I just noticed everything is gapping down, as well as Bitcoin and the overall markets. A lot of tech-heavy stocks gapping down as well, too. So starting to come in off those highs, guys. And again, nothing to overly be alarmed about, totally healthy. We did break some key support levels. We're only down 5.25 off of the all-time highs here in the SPY. Yeah, so we'll continue to monitor this. I do think that there's going to be some more short-term downside, but I think it's a buy the dip scenario. Plenty of tailwinds for the market. It can be just something along the lines of, hey, we're not looking at as many rate cuts as the market had priced in for this year. So again, taking that out, seeing where we go from that front. Again, I don't know if we get one or two. We might not even get any. A lot of people are talking about hikes as well. So just got to be aware of that stuff. Market taking some profits here. We broke through this key support level as well, too, around 583. So until we get some definitive turnaround signals, then I'm going to just continue to go with this trend on that front. We are rolling into earnings seasons as well, too, folks. So this Wednesday, we have JPM, BlackRock, and some other banks starting to report as well, too. And then shortly after that is when you get the big names in tech to start to report. So looking forward to that. And we have to keep on our eyes out on that as well, too, because if the earnings don't support our past moves, then we can see some more downside. But if there's strong earnings growth, we're starting to beat on top and bottom lines on some of these big names, and always look for forward outlooks as well too. So strong guidance can definitely help the market continue in the Northeast and recover off these lows that we're at. So again, I think this is a healthy pullback. Not too worried about it. And if we get earnings to support a higher move, then sure enough, I think the market is going to continue on that path. So yeah, time will tell. Let's see what Apple's up to. I built a thesis here, Sharif, on Apple.
Yes,
As
sir.
of right now, it's not exactly playing out how I would like, but that's okay because we are starting to sell drastically. One thing I was looking to do, guys, is make some options play based off of this candle here. As you can see, we had this nice signature, this volume signature with that hammer print at something I would classify as an extreme low. So maybe are we going to get around that turnaround area? We'll wait and see. Let's see if price starts to turn around here. Once we breach 240, then maybe we'll go a little bit higher. But I think I was listening to some analysts on CNBC, and they said, I think iPhone sales aren't going to come out as hot as people were expecting, so that could damage the stock as well, too. So, yeah, starting to come off those all-time highs, Sharif, and running right back into that range. So only time will tell. We'll have to wait for that earnings report on Apple to see where we go from here.
All right, so we're involved in Kappa right now at the $0.50. A couple of outs so far, waiting for the next one in the high 70s. I'm waiting at 77s. 76s just showed up on the ask. There's an awful aggressive tug of war between buyers and sellers at this level. You can just see that reflected on the tape as well as the book. We had large size in the low 60s that got eaten up by a monster order, but it wasn't enough to propel this one continually above 77. So we've taken out a couple of ads. I've defended the $0.50. I've taken my best out was 75s. Here we go again. Coming into the mid-70s, about to say mid-60s, but we're again met with a wall of aggressive shorting. And I got to tell you, I mean, based on what happened on Friday and the lack of continuity with the small cap gappers and how the Rust basically got destroyed on Friday, right? Small caps absolutely got obliterated, and that's to be expected. Small caps will not do well in a high rate environment or a higher for longer environment, or I shouldn't say they're not going to do well, but it's going to be a hard road to hoe, baby, because these guys, they don't have any money, right? They got to go out into the what's it called, the debt market and raise money at higher rates. Obviously, that eats into margins. You don't have to be an accountant to understand that business, but that's the situation. So here we go. We just took out that print in the mid-80s, so we're doing real well right now, about 30 some odd pennies in the money. Let's wait here in the low 90s to see if we can get a print. But to build on the point I was saying, I think the reason we've been doing really well with small caps is we've kind of had the bias or the view or the hope possibly that the rates do come down in next year. If that isn't going to be the case, I think, you know, maybe the great times we've been having right now with not Kappa, but with the small cap gappers, sadly comes maybe not to a halting
Kappa.
end, but yeah, I'm in Kappa right now. And not to a halting end, but definitely a bit of a harder time to continue with their strength. So we're printing really well right now. We just took out 3, so about 50 pennies more in the money. Let's see if we can take out some more size over here. I'm going to wait at 310s now, see if we can zig and zag with their good move into Kappa. This thing's up 200%, Joseph, and it behooves me to give you some details on this thing because I just noticed I didn't. So I've only got 2 more outs on this, so I can kind of rest easy. Here's the deal. This thing's done 51.8 million shares. It's a $37.5 million market cap with a float of 0 shares. So we're trading invisible shares right now, Joseph. Everything's fine. No, kidding, of course. Let's find out what Trade Ideas has to say about KAPA and the float. 3.34 million share float with a negligible short float of 0.11%. So not much doing there, guys, in terms of a short float, but definitely a smaller float to definitely help with scarcity and illiquidity. And that's kind of why these low float monsters end up moving in the way that they do, because they lack a larger float, and the lack of a larger float creates scarcity, and scarcity definitely creates volatility and parabolic squeezes. And so if you haven't traded these small cap gappers, that is part of the hallmark of the small cap gapper, is that they have low floats, most of them, not all of them, and they become a bit parabolic once they do get mass participation in the trade. So out the majority of the position, waiting here at 310s. We'll see if it comes in, but let me tell you, anything below that 240 print and we're gone. So we're long at 252. We're going to risk a little bit just to give this one a bit of room. So I have to actually adjust my stop from the previous level and from the previous size. So we're going to go and wait at 238. We'll wait at that level there, and then we'll give it all the way down to there. So we got our stop in play. Kappa, ugly topping tail candle through 310, but I don't mind packing my patience. And if it wants to break the $0.50, I'm good with that. We're taking the majority of the position out. Also, Joseph, there is another one here. PHIO looking awfully good as well. This is another triple-digit winner, and it's a lot bigger than Kappa. PHIO is the one I'm talking about, up 374%, holding that $8 area, and by extension of that, really holding the 10 exponential quite well. It's got a high the day of 979. This one, I would say, look to buy it off the 10 exponential so far, but it's losing its momentum. It's kind of in this consolidative bull flag phase. Anything a print below the 20, which is the yellow line on my chart, I'm gone. Let's see what it does. Adara, what's up?
It's time to take a look here at some of these outperformers to the upside and downside in the S&P 500, as we always do. But a bit of housekeeping before we get into this. Make sure that you take the time to like, subscribe, and participate in our poll. There are actually 3 polls during the midday every single day. So during How to Trade, you first have a poll around 11 a.m. where you can pick from 4 trending tickers on the day. Then at 12 p.m., you'll have the Playmaker poll. We can decide if you'd like to go long or short, and then Sharif and Joe will take that trade live. Then at 1 p.m., you'll have one last poll to choose between the top 4 trending tickers of the day. The top 5 tickers that are chosen between the 1 p.m. poll and the 11 a.m. poll will be covered in the rundown with Sean and Neil. So make sure to get your votes in there and make your voice heard. I always like to have a bit of a theme for this segment here in terms of the biggest movers to the upside and downside in the S&P 500. Because it's such a weak day for the market with the NASDAQ down about 1%, I wanted to look at sectors that were especially strong and tickers that were especially strong within those sectors. So we're going to start here with health services, pretty much dark green across the board. UNH, though, leading this group to the upside, up about 4.5%. Humana, pretty strong as well. They're up about 7%. But UNH is especially interesting out of its earnings report on January 15th. That would be, 16th. That's going to be this Thursday before the bell. So keep an eye on this ticker. Also, OXY, Occidental, up almost 4%. Rejecting 53 right now, but this is a beautiful case here of, actually bouncing off 53. Higher highs, higher lows for OXY. All of these oil names, and we know UNG is pretty strong here as well. We do have some new U.S. sanctions towards Russia's energy supply chain, but also Occidental having its own positive catalyst, getting a price target increase from Truist Securities. Last but not least, a lot of these defense names here are pretty strong, including LMT, Lockheed Martin here announcing a $1 million donation to Trump's inaugural committee. This is especially of note here because we know that there's some speculation that the Department of Government Efficiency, which is DOGE, of course, led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, there's some speculation that they're going to be actually cracking down on government spending, specifically in the defense contract space. So LMT trying to get here on Elon Musk and Donald Trump's good books with this donation. Definitely keep an eye on these defense names as we head into January 20th, 2025, guys. Back to you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
what do you got, Joseph?
Yes, sir. I'm just looking here at Nike. I was trying to find some news on it. A lot of people in the chat were talking about it. But, I mean, yeah, it's trading nice on this session. But let's take a look and zoom out here for a second. We're only about a percent or two, or not even maybe, off of these all-time lows on Nike. Yeah, when the rest of the market is selling and you're getting a little bounce at in NKE, totally justifiable, I guess. But I can't find any news. No, I wouldn't get too giddy about this right away. We're still down in the dumps with Nike. I don't know, inventories are high. Just not looking good here on Nike and from an apparel standpoint. We talk about it plenty of times before. It's just so much easier to reach consumers now and to be as dominant in the athleisure wear when you got the likes of Lululemon, Gymshark, Alo, all these new fresh brand names that everybody's liking and at discount prices compared to Nike. When you go to the Nike store and you see a sweater for $100, you can just turn around, go to Gymshark or something else and get that same sweater for $50. So yeah, tough look there on Nike. And after they kind of stepped out of Foot Locker and they opened up their own brick and mortar, going into the malls as well too. So cost ineffective on that front. But Nike, nice little bounce on it. We need to see a lot more on that Nike front in order to want to start to participate on that. But let's see what Adara has to say.
Actually, the comments here on Nike, it's not news, but it is a reason I think this name could be so strong on the day, and it's Lululemon sympathy. We know Lululemon, I mean, it's the stock not too hot today, despite that initial positive push, basically flat in the day. But the reason I want to bring this up is because Lululemon actually raised their guidance for the fiscal year for both EPS and revenue. That could be seen as a great sign for names like Nike, which of course, as just mentioned, is in the same space as Lulu. So this looks like this is a potential sympathy play here with higher revenue and earnings per share expected. Nike also got a upgrade from Piper Sandler on Friday, so this could be a day two move on that as well, guys.
Thank you for that, Dara, much appreciated. So there you go. Yeah, it's a little sympathy play based off of Lululemon. Yeah, I mean, not really a Lululemon guy. My girlfriend is, though, for sure. I did own a couple things from it, but there are more gifts. So, yeah, let's see what's going on, guys. Let us know what you're looking at in the chat. Tesla's starting to pull back in here, holding the volume-weighted average price extremely well, same as well as NVDA in the overall market. So the Qs are just a little bit below the volume-weighted average price right now. Let's see if we can break through. I think that momentum and that volume is going to need to step in. We might see a little choppiness heading into earnings. We know that's coming in the next couple of weeks, so I think that's going to be the narrative. The street really looking forward to see how these prints are coming with these big names, especially like with the likes of Apple, NVDA, and Meta as well too. So looking forward to hearing from those guys as well as the banks. I like trading the banks around earnings, especially JPM, one of the bigger ones, I guess the biggest bank there is in America. So yeah, wait until those earnings come out. I think the market might be a little bit choppy. We are breaking some key support levels, Bitcoin, SPY, and the Qs. But again, if those earnings support these moves higher, then sure enough, the market will continue on that path. So yeah, what do you got going on there? I'm
still in my position at Kappa, but shout out to Tisha. I see XXII breaking out there off that, let's see, what are base out, 5 1/4, and now it's zigged and zagged all the way up to 8 1/5. I'm not touching this, Tisha, until it breaks above the pre-market high. The pre-market high was printed at 7:40 a.m., and that takes us all the way up to 865. So I put my alert there at around 850, a smidge below 850. As I see the way it's trading, without even having looked at the book, I can tell you this is trading awfully spready and dangerous to trade as a small cap gapper because the bottom can just absolutely drop off. So it's above VWAP right now. It's got a couple of topping tail candles into that 8 1/5, but I'm really interested if it can take out the pre-market high on the closing basis. I'm talking about XXII, 22nd Century Group, $4 million market cap with a volume of around 9 million shares or so traded today. We'll keep an eye out on this one. I got back in to Kappa at 245. I already wet my beak there in the high 50s. I'm keeping a really tight stop because there's obviously a lot of selling at the $0.50 here. I'm taking half the position I initially took so that if it does drop off, I don't lose a lot of the gains that we've made over here. But it's going to have to continue. It's going to have to hold up above this area. Look at this area. Resistance that we had from essentially 945 all the way until 1020 until we broke it on a decisive basis at 1115 right at the start to show. But as I'm watching the tape, the seller pushing this below the whole dollar, is becoming ever more aggressive, where they were selling it off 55s, 53s. Now they're putting bigger size at 51s and 50s. And that's something you need to be on the lookout for when you trade these small cap gappers, because a big account can absolutely manipulate this. Now, it can manipulate to the high side and to the low side. So what do I mean by that? So as we move along our merry way and we come in to a key area of technical support and you think it's going to hold on there, but then it doesn't seem to be able to break above, one key price level, you need to be on the lookout for being pushed down incrementally lower. Incrementally lower, what I mean by that is, like the example I just gave, if you were selling off at 55s aggressively, and that was kind of the wall, and then, about 2 minutes later, when you drop down to, say, mid-30s, you work your way back up to 50s, but this time you can't reach 55. You're reaching 51, 52. That means that the algo or the seller who's trading this to the short side is becoming ever more aggressive by dropping their large order lower and lower and lower, helping dampen the upward momentum on a name like this. So we're about 2 or 3 pennies out of the money right now on it. But again, anything below that 30 print and I'm gone, we're going to risk about 15 pennies. So XXAI in focus below VWAP, but I'm also keeping an eye on DATS because it just broke out again. So I was involved in this one before we got onto the show. And now this one is zooming right back up to the upside over here, getting a really nice bid. DATS did fail the pre-market high break. So that was one of the rare occasions where I feel like my rule didn't work on that particular occasion, where, we usually weasel in on the break of the pre-market high, and usually that's a pretty good area to base your entry. It didn't work that way with that. So clearly there's a seller of note at the $0.50. We're involved in it again. Let's take out some profits as we zig and zag here. Seller at the $0.50 here on DATS. And now recall, DATS is a holdover from Friday. I mean, I was trading this one on Friday. It was left up on the side chart. So keep your eye on this one. 658 HOD, and it could be a bit of a resistance level because we did reject that before, Joseph. So be on the alert, guys. 6.5 on DATS seems to be a bit of a local resistance level.
Hey, good look there, my guy. Man, I'm just pulling up your good friend Pan W here and just looking at everything from a daily perspective, as well as CrowdStrike. And I mean, we talked about breadth for a while here, and the market was just being dragged up by the strong 7, the Mag 7, and sure enough, the overall market seemed relatively weak. But here's CrowdStrike. We're running into some key support levels on a lot of these tech names. Like I mentioned, NVDA we broke through, Tesla as well too, down 20% off those all-time highs as Tesla. And I'm looking at Pan W right now as well too, just to kind of get a grasp of tech and breadth. But it is relatively weak, so a little bit tougher of a look. Let's see how far off those, no, I wouldn't say all-time highs, but 12% off of those yearly highs or last year's highs. So again, let's see what happens. I still think these companies' earnings are going to support the moves higher. It's just a little a pullback here, and once we kind of get into that mid-teen range on the Qs and the SPY, then I would look for a turnaround. But again, we're only down about 7% on the SPY and the Qs, which isn't too much. But if you kind of break that down, and then you go to the likes of NVDA, Tesla, and Google, right? So Google's down about 6%, Tesla being down 20%, and then you have NVDA that's down about 13%. So these are rightful corrections, and maybe, I don't know if it's necessarily the scenario right this second, but you want to start buying these quality companies into these like kind of correction territories. So that's something that I'm going to look at here with NVDA and Tesla. I mean, I already have, it's my third largest holding, but am I going to add up here? I don't know necessarily, but I am. We mentioned time and time again on the show that I think that I think we are bullish on Tesla, especially in the coming years with him working alongside Donald Trump and just getting robo-taxi. This guy needs to get some fleet on the ground and start getting some trials so we can get some more confidence in this stock. And I think once he does, we'll start to see this thing to recover. So we'll take a look off these all-time highs, what we're looking at here on Tesla, which is about 20%, just a little over 20%. So again, a nice dip buy on Tesla here. But we know how this thing can act. It's extremely volatile. The beta's high on Tesla. We were extremely strong coming out of the election, and then now we're starting to retrace that move. I think we run into this 362 level, and then maybe we look for turnaround signals from that standpoint, because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing from an investment standpoint and from an intraday standpoint. This thing needs to get some steam going, and I think it will. It gets memey at times. We're aware of that. So once you get that one or two positive catalysts coming out on Tesla, then it's time to get that ball rolling again and start looking to take advantage of those moves. Now let's talk a little bit about AMD here. Jose and some guys in the chat, we were talking about this, and he mentioned, okay, AMD from a daily perspective has gapped down 3 days in a row, and even classified this morning as a fourth. So looking for a potential bounce here on AMD. But again, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, until you get those, or last week, until you get those positive catalysts, don't look for those strong recoveries, because they're not going to just come out of the blue. The overall sentiment in this stock is weak. We're not even anywhere relatively close off of these all-time highs, which is around this $225 price mark target, which happened early 24, and we essentially haven't even come close to testing those highs. So AMD is still weak. We need multiple positive news catalysts to come out, strong earnings from AMD, and then hopefully that this stock can start to recover, because everybody's kind of rooting for it. It's supposed to be second place to NVDA, but it's not looking anything close to that. So just keep an eye on that. Let's see what IBIT's up to here, folks, as well, too. Maybe we look to take a little bit of a long here, because we are starting to curl around, holding the volume-weighted average price fairly well, but we did break through some key support levels on spot Bitcoin, so we have to be wary of that. If the buyers aren't going to start stepping in, then I think that we're going to start seeing some more downside. I was just listening to Tom Lee as well on CNBC, as I mentioned before, and he says I think around 70K is going to be max pain on Bitcoin, which would be pretty painful, but again, that's just an absolute buying point. That would bring us back into this range here of the breakout that we had in early November. So again, I think a consolidation, look for some turnaround signals anywhere in the 80s, mid 80s to high 70s, and then look to participate to the north side. Tom Lee said $250,000, 180 at the least. We're still in the early phases of this halving cycle. So yeah, we're not even through year one. That's coming up, I believe, in March or April or something like that. So we still got 3 years, but again, that halving cycle, be patient. I think this thing continues to appreciate.
Yes, sir. All right. We're scalping here on PHIO. It's kind of went into the 20 exponential where we long 73s. Just took out some at 8s, now setting up at 815. PHIO, I see it kind of as an ascending wedge, sort of kind of trying to respect that shape, but it's got good support off the 20 exponential. That's a few times it's dipped into there. We'll see. I've placed my stop already. Let's see if this one can break right back above 8, 979 HOD. But I see what everybody's yelling about right now. XXII halted was anyway to the upside. 832 now, the official high day, and there it goes. It's taking up the pre-market high as we speak. This one's awfully spready, though. Look how it's moving 20, 30 pennies at a time. The candle zigging and zagging from the top end of the range to the low end of the range. That typically means it's spready. You don't even really need to look at the level 2, but we'll do anyway just to kind of prove the point. XXAI is the one that I'm talking about. And as I see it right now, it's about a 30 penny spread, 9 penny spread, so zigging back into 20. So it's really dangerous to trade this one. That doesn't mean it can't be very, very lucrative. And here comes $9 right now. So it's really dropping, popping off, I should say. I mean, you could try to catch this on a dip trade because it doesn't often hang out in a level for very long. So let's see if we can catch it on a dip trade at around 860s or so. Seems to be defending right now, though, the $0.75 of the dollar level, coming into about those 870s and jumping off again. So you're going to have to trade this one carefully, guys. Remember, it's around for a good time, not a long time, right? Here we go. We just took up some at 80s. Let's set up some at 90s over here. on XXAI. Got the dip. There we go. We took out some at 90. Here comes 9. So I'm going to wait at 920. Let's see if 9 wants to clear here. 9's acting as a very, very stubborn resistance level. There it goes. Okay, so we take it out to 13s. Can we continue going into the fifth of a dollar? That's exactly where I'm waiting on this name, but $9 still acting as a bit of a stubborn resistance level. And now I'm seeing about 300 lots posted at 9, I believe, 02. So that was moving down from the previous there. You can kind of see it. Here we go. It's getting eaten up. The size getting eaten up there, but it clears the size at 902 and then drops right back down. Adara, what's up?
Look here at your earnings segment, which again has returned because we do have earnings season back on the horizon. It begins in earnest with bank earnings, which are going to come Wednesday morning. But in the meantime, let's take a look at some earnings related names. We had no proper earnings today, but we did have some guidance being issued by some of these retailers. We'll take a look at that. Lululemon, as mentioned earlier, did issue some guidance, stronger than expected across the board. The stock is relatively flat on the day. They expect Q4 revenue above their previous guidance here, so $3.56 billion to $3.58 billion is what they're currently expecting. That is above estimates of $3.517 billion. Their earnings per share estimates, they also raised above their previous guidance, so currently guiding between $5.81 and $5.85 per share versus prior guidance here of $5.56 to $5.64 and the estimate of $5.66. So again, above their previous guidance and above estimates here for LULU. Then we have Abercrombie & Fitch. This is a distinctly different picture here for ANF, which is trying to bounce but decisively down in the day here. Their guidance is not too bad. They did guide an increase in Q4 net sales here. They're expecting growth between 7 to 8%. That is above their prior range of growth. And they're also expecting stronger growth here for their net sales for fiscal 2024. However, their sales here, or they're expecting their sales were during the holiday period, were a little bit weaker. So slightly weaker than expected holiday sales guidance or expectations for ANF, sending this ticker to the downside. Lots to look at here in this retail space for sure. And also, if you're looking for earnings heading into tomorrow, we do have, after the close today, KB Home reporting at 410 with consensus estimate of $245 per share and revenue of $1.99 billion expected. Then a small cap that likes to run is Air Test Systems. They're expected to report at 4:20 p.m. We got a consensus earnings estimate of about 1 cent per share. So potentially here's some profit for AEHR. Revenue expected to be $14.6 million. Tomorrow morning, exactly 0 names on the earnings calendar. So watch out tonight, guys. Back to you.
Hey, here we go. Okay, guys, XXI is breaking out really aggressively now. 947 HOD. I think we got 60s. I'm waiting at 69s now for the next fill. It's almost triple digits in terms of percentage up on the day. It's still, I don't think anything's changed in terms of danger. It's still very spready. It's still very volatile. The only reason I even am in this is because I took a dip trade off a key level. I didn't chase it. Here we go. Here comes the $0.50, and there is selling again at the $0.50. Nothing posted though. When you look at the level 2, the book, there's really nothing posted of note. No specifically significant size. A few lots peppered here and there. So you are dealing with an iceberg order when you are meeting resistance, or you're getting orders that are just reacting to the price action in the moment. So right now I'm keeping an eye, 947 right now, HOD on XXII. I'm looking for that 969 touch and drop, but if we don't get it, I think I'm going to move my stop up from 839 where I had it previously, and I'm going to move it back above that 860 level. So we're not going to give back as much if this one, the bottom drops off. And believe me, the bottom certainly can drop off there. FIO is coming right back down, so we'll take out the last remaining one out there. I'll set up on FIO again, though, at around 615. If we can get something around 615 on 650, 6 1/5. So 620, 6 1/4, something like that on PHIO. That's where the volume weighted average price is. If we get a dip into that level, I'd like my chances possibly for an area defend this level right here on PHIO, Joseph.
Hey, good look there. Yeah, guys, just keeping an eye on the overall market here. Let's see if this IBID trade starts to work out. But let's take a look at the cues from an intraday perspective here. just trading within this range, so a tougher look. Those breakout trades aren't going to be the easiest on today's session, especially after that gap down in the pre-market hours. I do think we recover and start to fill this gap because we had multiple gap down days, and you can see just from a secondary trend here in the overall market, we are pulling back as well too. Mentioned time and time again that we're down about just under 7% on the Qs from those all-time highs. Breaking through some key support levels, which is really important to see. So at that point, you got to go kind of analyze and be like, okay, what is that next level of support and what is going to drive the market to turn around? And sure enough, just as we start to approach earnings season, we are breaking through some key lows, which I think is really important because if those reports come out really well, then I think we can start to recover on the market. But let's take a look at what we got going on for next week from an earnings standpoint as well too. So on Wednesday is when we really start to get that ball rolling, folks, and that's with JPM, Jeremy Diamond and Company, Jamie obviously, but yeah. So let's see what we got going on. This thing has been on an absolute monstrous run ever since it kind of acquired SVB's books. So that helped them. I watched it, and Sharif and I were talking about this not too long ago. After they acquired their books, they just went on monster runs in their reports. That's starting to cool off now here in JPM. But again, hovering around those all-time highs, I think if you're going to get involved into the banks, you always have to take a look at JPM. Would you be buying it right now? Maybe not. But if you get any form of dip after the report, then you got to look to participate because I think this is a foundational company that you kind of want if you're going to broaden your portfolio. So you'd have the likes of Walmart and JPM just for that breadth within your own portfolio. So there is Walmart as well too. Hasn't looked back since that hammer candle that a potential dip buy. But let's take a look at some of the other banks reporting next week as well too. So we got Citigroup here coming out on Wednesday in the morning, and then we have Wells Fargo as well too, guys. So those are some companies that you want to keep an eye out and see what they have going on. Come their reports, see some relative strength in the overall American economy. So yeah, okay guys, let's take a look at this IBIT trade starting to work out here. We do want to continue in this strength. So we had this really strong opening drive here. Unfortunately, we didn't see this hammer candle right at the slow after this 5-minute opening range breakdown. It breaks down and then recovers, punches through the volume weighted average price, and then essentially doesn't even really look back. Pull back into the volume, into VWAP, and now holding that. Let's see if we can go and test the high a day. I don't know if necessarily this is going to be one of those days where we get that squeeze type action because we do know that we broke through some key support levels, which may not necessarily mean, hey, we're going to get that massive bounce in this underlying. But again, anything can happen if you feel like that's a large enough liquidity grab, and then we can continue to the northeast. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case for Bitcoin. I still think we see some downside in this underlying asset for the next little bit. But one thing, and I mentioned time and time again, is that this consolidation phase here on IBIT was was a lot longer than I was anticipating. And then the breakout was a little lackluster and then headed right back into this consolidation phase again for almost over a month, well over a month at this point. So let's see if Bitcoin can get the ball rolling again, and then we start getting that volatility skew to step in once we start moving to the top side. So I do think by summertime we can get to that 1.25 and maybe even higher. But I know Sean was talking about it earlier as well too. 50K or 150K. I don't know if we, again, I could be totally wrong, speculative, but I just think 50K, that's almost 40, that's over 40% from where we stand right now. And that would be hectic. So a lot of people will be shaken out at that point. If we ever do touch that 50K target on Bitcoin, I think that's an absolute buying opportunity. But again, I think we go north of that before we touch 50K.
Yes, sir. Okay, so XXII halted to the high side. $10.45. We're done with this trade. So got in at 860, done at 969. It is continuing to go. This trade is still active and valid. It's got 4 green candles uninterrupted to the high side on the 5, and for the exception of one measly candle of indecision right over here. That was red at around 11.25. Everything's been green since the breakout off that 5 1/4 bottom that it put in. I mean, I wouldn't have touched it until it cleared VWAP, obviously, and then by extension of that, the 864 area. That's why I was long 860, because that is the pre-market high. 7:40 a.m. it printed 865. So that's a look. Halted 1045, up 113%, very strong, and looking to do a lot more. So keep your eye out on this one. It is unhalted. I'm back in DATS. I'm trying to build up my position over here, as this one's had, it's decent here, putting in higher lows and higher highs off the volume weighted average price. Where am I in? I'm in at 17s. I've got planned DCAs to defend 6 and into the volume weighted average price. Let's see if we can continue to move up. It's a 4 penny, I should say, spread on a $6 name, which isn't really to my liking at the moment. There does seem to be some selling here at the $1/4. Okay, we just took that out. And now we're printing to the high side here. I'm waiting at 33s now. Seller at 30s of note. No size posted on the book, all hidden orders, all iceberg, to be expected with small cap gappers. So let's see if this one wants to continue moving up to the high side. Layering my orders, I'm keeping my DCAs, my planned dollar cost averages, into the volume weighted average price as they are. I'm not going to remove them. Just because I took a print doesn't mean that the idea isn't valid. So keeping my eye on that. Shout out to Tisha. Well. Nice move on these small cap gappers. I love this show. Thanks. Thank you, Tisha, for shouting out XXII. You still didn't let me know if it's Tisha or Tisha. Neil calls you Tisha, and I call you Tisha. And we need to resolve this. So tag me and let me know exactly how to say your name. I can't be saying your name wrong every day when you're a small cap gapper trader like this. Put some respect in your dang name here. So that's a look right now, guys. Halted to the upside again, XXII. I'm also keeping an eye clearly on DJT because, well, it hasn't given up the ghost, right? It made a big move into 40.85. It looks like it's having trouble, though, with $40. A symphony of lower lows and lower highs, but not as aggressive, obviously, as it was to the high side. Donald John Trump to the high side today, baby. And I don't even know what the hell is going on with this. It says, I'm just keeping an eye here for any specific headlines as to why this is moving. Short eye. Okay, there you go. So Tisha. Yeah, short eye, right? So not Tisha, but Tisha. Okay. Yeah, you're wrong, Neil. Sorry, bro. I thought you were right, though. That's why I checked, to be fair. So good look, guys, right now on these small cap gappers. It looks like maybe they're hanging out. We'll have to see if the sustainability of these bad boys continues today. The Russ is down 0.94. The only one of the major averages that's actually up on the day is the Dow. It's up 0.25%. And the reason I mention the Russ is because my perception has been when the Russ is weak, these small cap gappers have less continuity. When the Russ is a bit stronger, they have more continuity. I'm talking about having that strength to the upside where it continues to take out key levels. Otherwise, we're met with some selling there. So that's my look. We're involved in DATS at the moment. We're done our trade on XXII opened, and it is continuing to go. A new high of the day, Joseph, 11.92. This thing is on one, as Sean would say. This is really taking out levels right now. Very aggressive. Again, guys, the spread is very wide. It's very volatile. It's very dangerous. If you are trading this, please exercise caution and trade it correctly using key areas for your entries as well as your exits and stops. There's nothing wrong with using stop losses. I don't subscribe to the no stop loss gang.
That's a quick recipe to end
get fired from here.
And to end your trading journey real quick. So guys, really stick to those stop losses. I think just to touch on that a little bit there, Shreve, it's such a fundamental aspect to trading is having those risk management measures in place. As we just mentioned now, it is one, if you're trading for a living, you won't have a job for very long. And two, if you're trading on your own and you don't have your own risk measures implemented, you're going to end that trading journey very, very quick, all right? And that's one thing when you're at home too, Shreve, is that you don't have anybody behind you like Wainers or Brank technicals being like, hey, what are you
Yelling at
guys
you.
doing,
Yeah.
right? So therefore it makes you like more susceptible to you being like, hey, I can break this rule once, but if you continue to break those rules, eventually the rules will break you, and then sure enough, you're back at work, and you'll be like, oh, well, I wonder what's going on in the market today, but I don't have any money, so I can't trade. So guys, just put those stop losses in place. The more comfortable you get accepting those losses, the better off you'll be, right? Sometimes it's extremely frustrating. Like, we've all been in that boat. You just need to get away from your desk. Set it up with your broker, first of all. So have that max loss on your broker, then have that max loss on your platform. Once you hit it, that's it. Day is done. And I get it. Like, I've been in this boat so many times, is that when you think it's like, okay, yeah, it sucks so much being like stopped out, being at the end of your day at like 9:40 or 9:50, like the day just started, and 20 minutes in, you're done. That's fine. There's always going to be tomorrow. The market will be open tomorrow. Do not make that loss outsized. And then if you do make that loss outsized, and then the next day you come back and then you put in a good day, but your loss is way too big, you didn't recover from what you did yesterday because you were impulsive, you were frustrated, and you weren't thinking rational. So guys, trust me, we experience all those the same emotions here. We are equally as human as you guys are, and we get frustrated, but we just have to get up from our desk, go do something else, trade sim, just not look at the screen for 15 or 20 minutes or even an hour, cool yourself off, and then come and reassess, all right? So just always have those risk measures in place, guys. It's extremely important. Have those stop losses and those max loss days set inside your broker and within your trading platform, and then and then set those settings so that you can't touch them for 24 hours, okay? Because I've been there. I traded at home for years, and I've been through those losses. Like, you're on a stellar run, you're trading extremely well, and then one day you just wipe out like a month of gains because you're not willing to accept your loss and have the inability to just get up and walk away from your desk, which is an immense skill in trading. It's probably one of the most underrated skills, is just being able to just quit trading for the day and coming back, reassessing the situation, and then coming back the next day. Because guess what? The market's going to be open the next day right at 9:30 sharp. It's not going to be late. It's not going to be early. 9:30 sharp, that bell rings. Wall Street's going to be prepared. And you don't want to be sitting on the sidelines being like, well, I can't trade today because I blew up my account. Don't do that, right? I've seen, so yeah. Ryan Fay, appreciate was done with me last week, holding Tesla short through the V recoveries. I mean, dude, like, you have to understand, you're gonna go through those, you're gonna experience that pain. It's just how you adapt and just like not want to go through those scenarios again. I've done it a couple times. It's just like, yo, it's such a horrible feeling. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that ever again. And then sure enough, you stick to your plans and everything works out much better. But you'll have those days. You can't completely eliminate them, but you can mitigate those risks to an extreme amount. All right, guys? So yeah, let's take a look at what everybody else is looking at. DJT, everybody's talking about today, trading extremely well on the session. I'm just talking about relative strength and looking for strong things here, but we got a $10 super chat from Marty. Advice: I just came back to trading. I'm semi-retired and wasn't following my own rules. Took a beating revenge trading NBA last week. Watch those stops. Exactly, and think about how you feel about that, and then now you come back next week and you put in a couple stellar days, but then in the back of your mind it's like, oh, well, it's going to take me much more to recover now because I wasn't willing to just stop for that session. So yeah, follow those rules, man. Write them down, and again, you once you break them so many times and you get sick of breaking them, you're going to start following that, but hopefully that's before you hit max pain. But here's DJT, guys. Thank you for that $10 super chat once again, Marty. Much appreciated. Hopefully you learned your lesson on that front and just go to continue to stick to those rules, because I mentioned time and time again, the market was here before we were even alive or existent, and it's going to be here after. So don't get too much FOMO. The market will be here day after day.
Day after day. Day after day.
I don't know that one. Which one is that one?
I have no idea, bro. It just pops into the head.
It's a banger.
We're just going to go with it. So I'm picking up DJT at VWAP. This is going to be a really tight trade. It's at the volume weighted average price, and it also has price action support in that area with the area crest that it put in at 10:05. So we're going to give this one the old community college try. Here we go, popping up There's a seller at 8, a seller of note at 8. Let's see if we're able to take out that seller. So 13's now on the ask. I don't know why I'm not getting printed when it's clearly crossed. Oh, yeah, I did get printed. My mistake. I'm setting up at 20s now on the ask. Over here, let's set up a little bit higher than 20s. I'll set up there to see what we can get to the high side there, but it's still zigging and zagging. Nothing doing quite yet on this one. Gonna keep a tight stop on DJT at this level. Already de-risked a little bit because the bottom can drop off. I still don't even know why this thing is moving. So don't want to risk too much. Still in DATS at the moment. Sadly, didn't get that print at 05s. I think it did dip into 05s. And that's really frustrating when you have a planned dollar cost average that doesn't get filled, despite the fact that it gets wicked. That's usually because of the spread. And so that's just part and parcel of trading. These small cap gappers, especially ones with a 6-penny spread on a $6 name. Not a good look, but that's what we're involved in with right now. And we're going to keep an eye out on that. As I tell you about that, XXII down, halted again. Oh, well, this time it's the first time it's down, halted. 11 and a quarter, 11.24 technically, the halt level there. So we'll keep tabs on that. We did get the print there on DATS at 33s, but what I'm in trouble with right now is going to be DJT. So we're about 20 pennies out of the money on this, and if it prints anything lower than 75s, I'm gone there, right back into the whole dollar. It goes very indecisive. Is DJT at these levels? We're going to have to risk something here, so I'm giving it to the whole to the $0.75. If it breaks below the $0.75, we'll take our L on this one. But yeah, keeping an eye on this, Joseph.
Yeah, good stuff there. Yeah, so we'll send it off to Adara here real quick, and then we're going to go to Neil with the lesson of this day. But a lot of people are enjoying the talk about risk management, so I think we're going to touch on that a little bit more when we get back from Adara and Neil.
What a push down here still for the market. This is the S&P 500, which just made on the 15-minute chart a pretty intense bearish engulfing candle. NASDAQ here looking pretty similar, actually looking weaker than the SPY, and that is actually about to flat bottom break at day's lows, barely holding on to that key $500 level. So let's see how the QQQs fare from here. One piece of economic data that we got today, really the only one here, New York Fed one-year consumer inflation expectations for December coming in exactly with the prior month, so completely unchanged, 3% versus 3% prior. We know inflation is certainly going to be on watch here. We had a higher than expected inflation expectations print there from the University of Michigan on Friday, stronger than expected NFP print also on Friday. So there is a lot of speculation that we either are going to have a huge pause in the cutting cycle or actually begin a rate hike cycle. So certainly a bit of a bearish look there for the markets, but not everything is bearish. X here, U.S. Steel, and a beautiful bull flag actually with higher lows. Bit of a flat top around $37.04. CNBC reported that Nucor and Cleveland Cliffs, the latter of which has previously tried to acquire U.S. Steel, are actually going to be working together for an offer for U.S. Steel. They're going to be offering about apparently in the high $30 here, so probably around where we're trading currently, around 37 for U.S. Steel. So keep an eye on that one. Let's take a look as well at DJT. Shout out to Sharif, who's been involved in this name. This stock here, Trump Media, has had a nice push to the upside. I could not find any news catalyst on this, but there's a lot of social media excitement here, some speculation that we were trying to break out of that daily consolidation, which we actually did here. There's a top about $37, so looks like it could be technical breakout for DJT, but be aware this one's also on watch with the inauguration next week on Monday. Make sure that you like and subscribe if you're enjoying the stream, and follow us on social media, Trader TV Live, or if you're looking for some more analytical content, make sure you check out TTV Research. I work on graphics and cool posts for that every single day, so definitely check that out. In the meantime, also take a moment here to thank our sponsors at Prop Firm Match. Feeling overwhelmed trying to find the perfect prop firm? With so many options out there, it's easy to get lost. That's where Prop Firm Match comes in. Prop Firm Match is the ultimate platform to help you identify and compare reliable prop firms tailored to your trading style and to your goals. Whether you're after low fees, high profit splits, or quick funding evaluations, we've got you covered. Say goodbye to hours of research and confusion because Prop Firm Match makes it simple to find your perfect prop firm. Just scan the QR code or visit propfirmmatch.com today and take the guesswork out of finding the perfect prop firm. We're going to send you over to Neil, where he will deliver his lesson of the day. Without further ado, take it away, Neil.
Oh, got to say off the top of the bat, thank you, Adara, and thank you for all that great discussion on risk management. I see even in the chat right now, we've had a few. Alex Davis in there, we're chatting back and forth about risk management, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Sometimes, look, risk management means a lot of things, and we often talk about it in terms of when to get out of a trade that's wrong. Sometimes it can also be when to get out of a trade that's right. Part of it should also be when simply not to take a trade. And there is always going to be a situation that comes up where you like a setup, you like a stock, you like a direction, you like a price level. It gets to that price and it's not the setup that you wanted, or there's something wrong about it, or it's just flat out obvious that it's no good at that price. You've got to be able to step away from it. I'll try to give the best example that I could find of that today. And ultimately, I didn't trade Boeing for obvious reasons. A lot of times, I'd love to show you like hey, here's what I could have done better. Maybe I should have not done what I did here. In this particular case, I did stay away from Boeing. There was a chance, and we've known about this 200 period and the 170 level all last week. I don't think it's shocking to anybody. Spoiler alert, it broke today. I thought it was a bullish move for it to break 170 on Friday and then hold higher. But if that's going to be a bullish move, I had in my note today, if it can break out 175, there's your higher low, break out 175, or simply support the same level from before, look for longs. Now, it's easy to say, look at how many times it bounces off this level. You should just be sitting on the bid there. Well, that's true. It's bounced off that level cleanly. Now, at the open, you had some shots here, 170 half, if that's where you're focused on for some reason, instead of like a quantum name or something that was moving more, it gave you a couple of bounces. But when it actually got to $170, what were you staring at in that moment when you're looking at it really test this 170 level each time? Well, you've got the close at 172, at the open failing to break into green, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, consolidation breakdown. I know this is kind of obvious, but there's a chance that maybe if this was a stock that you loved and you loved that 170 level, I couldn't argue with that because the chart looks okay on that 15-minute. But every time it gave you the bounce, you're getting less and less out of it. I think it's pretty simple that when you got this last shallow bounce in here that couldn't even break this 170.70, you need to get out of Dodge. There's no need to even be in the trade at that point if you were taking that support level. Me, it would never set up good enough to go for a long, so it was an easy stay away. But it doesn't just have to be a line on a chart or I like this price. You are allowed as a trader to have some discretion as to what does it look like when it's trading at my price and what did it look like getting there? And do I need to be on that bid? I think this was a case where it just never set up for a very good looking long. If anything, maybe was a missed opportunity short. The other one, which is a bit of in a different direction. Now, obviously the market has ultimately come back down here a little bit toward the low, but AMD for me. AMD had, let me go to the daily chart first. AMD has been trending to the downside. You were retesting a huge level down underneath $116 on the daily. I can zoom it out and show you how big of a level. There's a potential breakdown here on AMD all the way to the bottom of this channel, which sits at 105. So it's favoring shorts the entire way down. It's at that big 116. But look what it was doing in here. I tried it when it was making lower highs. I mean, it screamed up at the open. That's easy not to get out in front of. Now, ultimately, if you like 116, was this a winning trade? Yeah, if you took it and didn't stop out. So if you like 116, which was your resistance and where you closed, technically you used a winning trade here because you could take 116 in here, and if you never stop out, it breaks 117, comes back down underneath 115. You could make a buck. But I would venture to say that that's probably going to get you in a world of pain the times that it doesn't work out for you. So I would never make that trade. It never gave you some kind of a reasonable entry point unless you were just standing out in front of a moving freight train and hoping it worked out for you. When it started putting in lower highs, then I can short it to a tighter stop. But look what happens. Holds pre-market resistance as support. Take a shot at it, it breaks out. Do I get out? Fine. How does it respond when it dips under 116 again? Another higher low, not touching it. Goes to 116, fails again. Another higher low, not touching it. Breaks 116 again, and then waited for one specific thing. because it's established a trend with the higher lows. So instead of just standing out in front of 116, which, look, if you just shorted 116 every single time, great. I don't like that game in an upward trend. I'd rather get my chips in when it broke that trend, which it still has. It's still holding underneath the trend line and now working a bit of a trend to the downside. So you've got to, part of risk management is also setting up an entry rule so that if a stock gets to your price or starts confirming the direction you want to get in, this is what I need to see to actually get into the trade, not just that it happens to be trading at my price level. Because sometimes you're just going to get absolutely run over when you do that. And if you were favoring shorts in the chips today, I think you had to have a ridiculous amount of patience to actually get a good setup in any regard. The other thing I wanted to get to, just the last one along these lines, was Moderna. Because I talked to a few people this morning, and Premium Obi and Wayne and others on the floor and other traders at other offices, Moderna was going to be a stock a lot of people were interested in. But if you were trying to short off at 36, which is a big level on the daily, it had a candle pretty much like AMD's. At the open, it's 33 to 35.30, and then an instant flush back through, which is usually a pretty good setup for a bottom break. But the first thing that happened on the bottom break is just terrible prices because it's SSR trying to get short off the 33 level. And then much like AMD, it just works itself into an uptrend. So don't fight it. Take tight stops, wait for it to break the trend. Let it set up again into the short, which it did eventually off VWAP, because you cannot get anchored to a price. Like anchored to, hey, this is the breakdown. Every time it gets into 33, we'll just keep on taking it and then work that into VWAP because VWAP's VWAP. You'd be holding that 150 pennies against you and then eventually $1.20 against you. Would it work out? Yeah, it eventually comes back in. Or you can just get out of the trade, wait for it to show you an entry setup, and then jump in when it confirms what it is that you're looking for. So let a stock get to your price. That's fine. You can have an idea, you can have a price level you like, but what it's doing when it gets there matters so much. You do not need to short a price level just because you think it's resistance if it's staring an upward trend and doesn't look like a good entry. There's always going to be another opportunity. If you have to sit on your hands for 20 minutes, so be it. Don't get that FOMO. Like laser focus in on what you need to see in order to get into a trade, as opposed to, this is what I thought was going to happen when I sat down at 8 o'clock in the morning, so let's just go with that. Context does matter. Trend does matter. So make sure that it's doing what you want to see when it gets to your key price, and sometimes that'll help you avoid a trade that you don't need to have. The case with Boeing today. It just never looked any good at that 170 level, so you don't have to take it. Just because you liked the level last week doesn't mean you have to get in when it gets to that price this week. There's your lesson of the day.
Thank you very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and awesome as always. Neil Roberts, every day around noon. XXII going to halt to the downside right now. That's going to be the second halt in a row to the downside on this name. It's up about 90% now, giving back the triple digits win that it had. It looks like it has support at 875, and then you're also looking at that 815, 820-ish area where VWAP is at. So XXII halted to the downside again. Keep your eye out on that one. I'm involved still in DATS at the moment. Got the dip trade at 6. Just load that bad boy up over here. Waiting for the low 20s to print on this one. Still have a couple of DCAs on this one planned that still haven't been triggered. We got the one at 605 that did trigger. I like the higher low situation and the possible defend of the 20 exponential, but it does look right now like it's a bit of a compression pattern with higher lows, but also lower highs. So we'll have to keep an eye out on this one. I like it all the way to VWAP. So it's going to have to hold the volume weighted average price, which also has price action support at that volume weighted average price. That area crest that we had at 9:40 a.m. gives us more credence that support level could hold. And this is the level right here. We pop up into that 575 and then drop all the way back down to 481, which is actually the low of the day, which was actually also a key area low on Friday, I believe, as well. That was basically the looks like right the low there that we printed right before the bell, right before that 4 p.m. print, we dipped into 480. So that level ended up holding today. So an inside day technically today on DATS. with lower highs, but also higher lows. So we're kind of ensconced by yesterday's price action. So DATS looking decent, not the best, holding up at 6, but not the best mover, no doubt about that. PHIO continues to put in lower highs, and by extension of that, lower lows as well into that 650 area. It's also got 6.25 VWAP. So, I mean, you know, it's hasn't changed its tune for the better part of an hour and 15 minutes. It's been putting in lower lows, lower highs since 10:55, since we made that high at 979. So it's going to have a reset here, a restart, because of the pattern looking awfully bearish right now. DJT, holding up at VWAP on a closing basis, but not on a wick basis. So you're going to have to, if you're going to try to build your position in and around that $39 area, 38 and change, basing it on VWAP or this area hold up over here, this area bull flag, well, you're going to have to give yourself a lot of room, because between VWAP, which is at 38.89 or 38.90, and the lower end of this range was at 37.80. So you're going to have to, if you want to build your position at this area, which isn't my move, you're definitely going to have to give this one a lot of room between your entry and your stop. It does seem like it is on the way down right now, but Joseph's got to pay some bills.
Hey, let's go, guys. Introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, Worksport, ticker WKSP. All right, guys, Worksport is a U.S.-based manufacturer and rapidly expanding with growth revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off-grid. Whether you're on the move or seeking sustainable energy solutions, Worksport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP. Discover the future of clean energy with Worksport, guys. There it is. Scan the QR code and click the link in the description.
Yes,
so, yeah,
sir.
good stuff there. There's an interesting comment in there from Crabstock. He said, yeah, you have to blow up a couple of accounts in order to follow your rules. I'm going to have to disagree with that. When I first started out trading back in 2021, 22, I didn't even touch a live account until I got a thorough understanding of risk management, how I wanted to trade, and kind of just a general understanding, all right? So again, you don't need to, you just have to be really cautious in what you're doing and have a full understanding of risk on that. I remember I started with something called calculated fixed risk. So it's just a hotkey that goes from point A to point B and calculates your shares and the amount that you're willing to lose on that trade. So if your platform provides you that, especially in those early years, use that, utilize those tools that your platform provides, because I don't think it's necessary for you to blow up multiple accounts in order to understand, like, hey, I need to start following your rules. So I just wanted to touch on that there. What do you got going on there, my guy?
I got this.
Let's go.
Mike McCarthy will not return as Cowboys head coach. Neil sent me this right now. Now, this is under the category of trade rumors. So I don't know. Obviously, he's not going to get traded, but it looks like it's a rumor here after talks on a new deal failed to result in an agreement. Mike McCarthy is set to depart the Cowboys, says Tom Pelissero, one of Katina Man's boys over there. NFL Network reports Dallas and the former Super Bowl winner will go their separate ways. Thank God. This offseason, several sides have pointed throughout the year to McCarthy remaining in Dallas despite the fact he spent the season on an expiring contract. And the owner, Jerry Jones, communicated with one another once the campaign ended, a point at which the Bears and Saints emerged as teams which could be interested. Why do they want to do that to themselves? Becoming a free agent tomorrow night looms as the expiration date of his current pact. Please do not sign this guy. Just please don't do it. So here we go. We're involved now in Kappa, looking to hold here at the $0.50 area. Let's see if this one wants to hold the $0.50. It's been holding the $0.50 for the better part of, I want to say, an hour or so. It looks like it will give way, though, into the volume weighted average price, and that's likely going to stop us out into that 230 area. A big seller showing up here mid-40s, so we'll get stopped out here if it drops below the $0.25. But aggressive selling right now in Kappa, and also aggressive selling in DATS, two that we're involved in. I was able to de-risk a little bit on DATS at this level, but not in Kappa. So we're going to see if the volume weighted average price wants to break. Thank you for sending me that, Neil. That made my morning. Let's see if Kappa wants to continue selling off here. Let's place our stop in and out the area, or if it's going to hold up at the volume weighted average price. So that's the look right now. Let's have a look at DATS. So both are above the volume weighted average price. So I don't want to say that they're not tradable, but both are, well, kind of in precarious situations right now, because the only thing that's keeping me bullish on them is the fact that they're above VWAP, and since we're so close to VWAP, that could change shortly. XXII open again, and it's about to break 9. It has the volume weighted average price at around 8.25, so be on the lookout for that. So what I'm involved in, KAPA, we're a bit out of the money on that one. DATS, we're kind of almost break even, not really, about 5 pennies out of the money on that one, waiting for either of these to break VWAP to the downside and get stopped out, or head back to the high side. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Joseph, what do you got in your sub?
Yeah, good stuff. We got a $10 super chat here real quick. Sharif, Neil Roberts, $5, sorry. Your talks always encourage and help manage risk and control our emotions. You the best. Neil, the real deal. All right, yeah, hell, I like that one. Yeah, so thanks, Neil, as always, much appreciated. And thank you, Zion Lala, for that super chat. Much appreciated. My friend, what did I do there? So yeah, let's see what we got going on here, guys. Tesla is going back to those highs of days. Let's see if it breaks on some momentum. Trading half decent, one of the better larger caps on the session. So going into, we're still negative on the day, unfortunately, but again here, going to test those highs of days is Tesla. That volume on the lower time frames is starting to pick up here. Positive signal for the overall market. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I was like, okay, well, what can justify this choppy price action? Well, tomorrow we have PPI, and then Wednesday we have CPI. So we usually know that coming into those days, the days ahead are a little bit choppy, and the market is looking for a direction. We know that the volatility is going to step in when those reports drop at 8:30 in the morning, both Tuesday and Wednesday. So there's going to be plenty of volatility to be had and stepping in the overall markets and trades to be placed. So guys, just if it's a choppy one, if you've hit those losses, then just relax, because the next 2 sessions are going to be nothing short, or nothing lackluster, I should say. I don't even think they will be. So I think they're going to trade really well. I think the market starts to recover if those prints come out relatively well. And at what point is the street just going to accept the good news is good news? I understand a strong labor market can possibly increase inflation again, or leave the street worrisome on that front. But again, just accept the good news for what it is. We just got to follow what the street is doing, and that's what Tesla continuing to creep in on those highs of days. Now positive on the session, up about 0.2% is Tesla, as the Qs start to recover as well too, going to test those highs of days on the Qs. So let's take a look at TQQs real quick, guys, and see what we got going on. Quite not too far off of them, still negative on the session, but that's okay. I think as we start to recover, we got to see what the big boys are up to, and if they want to move higher, it's going to drag the overall markets with them. We know that extremely tech heavy. So let's see what Nvidia's up to on the 5 minutes, chopping in the same range that the Qs are here, guys. So again, moving in unison at this point. Let's see if we break some key resistance levels up here. That volume is going to need to step in order for the MAG to break through these key levels. So again, matter of time. Let's see what happens. It's around that lunchtime hour, so you can expect the choppiness. But I just mentioned Tesla making new high a day, NVDA going into some key resistance levels. Google was really weak on the session as well too here, folks. Let's see if we're starting to recover there. So you can see this 5-minute opening drive on Google, that selling pressure really stepping in, trading below the volume weighted average price. We have since recovered, hovered around above, the VWAP for a while. Punch back through, having the inability to hold below VWAP. Let's see if Google starts to pick up some steam.
All right. Keeping an eye on the other side of the market there, the large caps. Looks like the NQ working its way back into that 20,850 point area, so it really reclaims 800. Keep an eye out on that. You're getting a bit of a bump up in some of the Mag 7 right now. Nothing that you really could write home about. It looks like Tesla is the only one, possibly, yes, Tesla, the only one of the mag going green, barely green above that 395, high 394s. It looks like it has a 395.70 now, HOD on TSLA. So good recovery for Tesla. It had a couple of good notes today. Morgan Stanley with the bull case of $800 and a bear case of $200. Liking this one, liking the AV, autonomous vehicle technology. They also like the supercharging network, FSD subscriptions. There's a lot to like from, according to Morgan Stanley, with this bad boy. So we'll keep tabs on that. I'm still involved in the same two stocks that I was involved in earlier. DATS, looking to hold this one into that 5 3/4. That's going to be my line in the sand. It's going to have to hold VWAP, as that's kind of my modus operandi with these small cap gappers. They got to be trading above VWAP. Same thing here with Kappa. Kappa was strong on the day. It's right back into that 235 again, which is VWAP. This one did respect volume weighted average price, both as support and resistance. Doesn't have to do that forever and ever more. So anything below the $0.25, we're gone there. So that will be a bit of a bigger L on Kappa, as we did have many additions into this one. Small DCAs, but nonetheless, they do add up. So that $0.25 is going to have to hold. Otherwise, we're going to take an L on this one. I'm also keeping an eye on DJT, despite the fact that it's below VWAP now. If this one wants to reclaim above that 39 1/4, I could get involved in that. I'm not going to use VWAP as like my line in the sand with DJT, just because it's been putting in multiple lower lows and lower highs and kind of wicking above and below it multiple times. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well. PHIO as well, coming into another interesting area here. Let me find my trading screen for PHIO. Let's load up that bad boy. PHIO has a volume weighted average price of 6 1/5. And it just dipped into that 6 1/5, which is 620, and then popped back up about 30 pennies into that 6 1/2. I'd submit to you that there is likely selling here in the 6 mid-80s. There was a lot of defending at that 6 mid-80s, with a range actually established there with 740 to the top side and 6 mid-80s to the downside. So I'd like to see it above that 6 mid-80s before I get involved, even though it's defended the volume weighted average price. So Kappa coming in real close right now into my exit. We're going to have to keep an eye out on this one, as VWAP is now in focus at that 2 1/3. 233 is where VWAP is. Doesn't look like their buyers are stepping up in the same way that they stepped up last time, because when we dipped into VWAP at 1125 and 1135, we got buying. We got decided buying off there, and then we made the new high of the day into that 3 1/4. That isn't happening this time. There doesn't even seem to be a bid standing there. So that presents me with a problem. DATS, though, breaking back up above 6. We'll see if the seller, who was at around 610, has now moved down to 6. So I'm keeping an eye on DATS for higher lows, looking for that compression pattern to maintain, and then keeping an eye on that. So that's my situation right now. Not much going on for me with DATS and Kappa. Kappa is close to getting stopped out. DATS looks like it might be taking out that 610. It's showing me 610 right now. So it's a bit of a spready name, so we're going to have to keep an eye to see if that 10 penny level can get crossed on the bid side as well as the ask, because right now it did get crossed on the ask. So here we go. PHIO just dipped into VWAP now, and that I'm seeing a double bottom right now on the 5-minute chart, where both wicks have bounced off the volume weighted average price. This is interesting right now on PHIO. Both candles come into that 6 1/5, 620, 619, something like that. And both times it's bounced off to the $0.50, but the trend is no different. We're still getting lower highs. Both candles are red, at least it was. Now it's going green. So PHIO in focus, but we'll have to see how to play this one. Looks like Kappa will get stopped out. It is now below VWAP, so I'm concerned about this one. I gotta manage this one. Joseph, what do you got, my man?
Hey, I got some Google going on here, my guy. Seeing what see if we can start to recover here on the overall market. We just were talking about Tesla not too long ago. Now new high a day on Tesla. Let's see if Google can start to participate with the Qs moving higher and some of these tech stocks starting to recover. We know that Apple just broke through some key resistance zones as well too. So let's see if what was once resistance can now act as support here for these big tech names, especially because Tesla has been the better one on the session, all kind of moving in unison here with the overall market. So if we don't get that breakout, then we're not going to try to fight that too many times and milk a stone that necessarily isn't going to work on the session. But yeah, let's see what else you guys are looking at. Make sure you guys let me know in the chat what you're looking at, and we'll be sure to go over them. I have a definitive out on Google here around 189.40. We touch that, then we're gone. Zeno, we're at a dodge here and going to assess the situation and see if we can find something else that can possibly break out. The volume on this is dwindling. There's something I want to point out here, guys, on this breakout volume. As we start to, the volume starts to dwindle here, just keep that in mind. So as we broke out in price, we got that nice breakout volume, but it's not being sustained. So if that pullback becomes a little deeper, you can look for something around the mid-range. And if it breaks that mid-range and looks like it's going to head south again, then just cut the position, reassess the situation, and then determine for yourself if it's worth getting in for another long. I mean, if Tesla continues to move higher, NVDA and some of these big names look to continue to move higher, then yeah, that can give you some more confirmation. Okay, let's start to participate. But if everything else starts selling with it, don't fight it. There's no need to. There'll be plenty of other opportunities that arise. All right, so just keep that in mind, guys. And yeah, Crapstock, what we're talking about in the chat is I get it. I see where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, there's no need to do that. And then why would you want to go back to work for a couple of months outside of trading if your ultimate goal is to be full-time trading? That's 3 months that you're not going to be sitting there in front of your desk. All right. So yeah, guys, Google's starting to pull back in here, not working out exactly how we planned. So yeah, once we break this 189.40, we're going to get out, reassess the situation, and then look for a better price to get involved here. So yeah, we'll cut this trade here, folks, and then see if we can get something closer to the volume-weighted average price, or the market is just going to trade within this range. And I'm going to assume that it's going to, because look at what it's been doing for the whole session here. This is the 5-minute time frame. We've been trading in this $5 range here in the overall market. So again, we know that we have PPI coming up tomorrow and CPI on Wednesday, so this can justify some of this choppy price action. I don't know how much weight we're going to hold on because at 2 p.m. today, we have the U.S. Federal budget as well, too. So the monthly federal budget, sorry. So I don't know how much volatility that's going to bring into the market. Time will tell. We just have to be patient on that front and see if we get any specific direction. But again, as of right now, it's a condor type day. If you want to talk a little bit of options, it's range trading. Put in those intraday condors that if you are that style of trader, if you're a credit spread trader and you're looking to just play specific ranges and not necessarily have a strong directional bias, that's something that you would look to trade. I know it's one of my favorite strategies, but more from a weekly standpoint. So yeah, that's a look there if you want to switch it up. And that's the beauty of options, is that it gives you multiple strategies that you can implement and not have to necessarily be as directional biased. But guys, I mentioned time and time again, I heard Adara mention this. There's some unusual options activity on DJT to the call side with a lot of OI around that $40 strike price, but that's January 17th expiry. So let's see if that continues to move higher, but that's a good look from Adara. But the IV is extremely high, so you're going to be playing for a volatility there. So you're going to have those increased premiums because implied volatility is extremely high. So yeah, you're going to be paying extreme premiums for that IV, but we're going to send it off to Adara.
We're going to take a look here at some of these tickers on the move this afternoon. Some of them in the small cap space, others not. IWM here, just to give us a quick small cap look, finding a great base around that 214 level. Still, though, struggling with resistance just above that, or just below, I guess, 216. That was also support back from Friday. So breaking that 216 area could be of huge importance for IWM. In terms of other tickers on the move, one in the small cap space is VRME. Verify Me. This ticker might be familiar because it's had a bit of a rally over the last few days, kind of moving on and off. No catalyst that I could find, but a 7.86 million share float, but a $48 million market cap for VRME, trading almost 60 relative volume. Zoom Info Technologies, this is not a small cap. It actually got a volume spike, though I couldn't find any technical or news-related catalyst for this push to the upside. But either way, about 8 million shares traded so far today. They do have an 11.8% short float. Market cap here about 3.5 billion, so a bit larger here than a traditional small cap gap. I'm also seeing this PDX on the move here as well. PIMCO Dynamic. This one a bit of a bullfrog breakout, though it's worth noting dwindling volume here on this chart. So keep an eye here on PDX. Another one here I'm seeing is LAB, so be aware of Standard Bio Tools. This one also with a bull flag with diminishing volume. About 48.8 million shares here, about 3.4 million shares traded on the day. So lots of these small caps and movers to be aware of, and make sure you vote for the Playmaker poll in the chat. Do you think the SPY should go long or short at 1 p.m.? Back to you.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good one there, Dara. VRME. I didn't have eyes on that one. That's a good looker. Topping tails right now into 480 and change. I'm going to keep my eye out on this one. A great dip trade would be around that 380 if it was able to make it down there. But that would be a bit of a thicker retracement. Let's see how it dances with the 10 exponential, which is right now at 420. If it clears that to the downside, then I'm more inclined to look at that 380 or wherever VWAP is hanging out at the time. But you do have price action resistance at that 3.25. You had the initial rejection at a quarter to 10, and then you had a subsequent rejection at around 11.10, all at 375 and change. So it's well above that right now, almost $1 above that in the 4 high 60s, 4 low 70s right now. So that could be certainly in play. VRME, good looker, 85%, and needs to be respected here because percentage-wise and chart pattern look really good. So that's the situation. DAT's finally starting to comply a little bit over here. So where are we long? We're long 96s, just took out some there at 20s, looking for that print in the high 20s. We've got some in the low 20s, and I've layered my outs there with 30s and 40s, but this one still putting a compression pattern with higher lows, but also lower highs above VWAP, which is keeping me optimistic about the trade, but you never really know how these ones are going to pan out. I kind of had the same look there on Kappa where we had higher lows, lower highs, and we ended up getting stopped out of that one. So it's never a guarantee. This Kappa looks like it might be holding up at the 50 as opposed to the volume weighted average price, but I'm still not going to trade it south of VWAP. It's going to have to get above VWAP. But there goes VRME, and Adara couldn't have brought this to us any sooner because this is a great looking pattern, and there's the break of the high day, 488, 489, 491. Every time I look at this, it's got a new high. I don't know if this has a headline of importance. I'm keeping my eye here on the blotter. Nothing with respect to a catalyst, like a fundamental catalyst, but I'm getting different alerts about breakout on volume. So keep your eye out on this one. I'd like something into the 10 exponential if it's possible, but that may not be possible. And then we'll have to see what it does with the 20 exponential at that $4 level. And then ultimately, though, that 375 is where the price action supports the holdup. But VRME, big name, up almost triple digits now, Joseph. Good look there. One last small cap gapper before we throw it back to Joseph. PHIO. Look, it's not really making any higher highs. And in fact, it looks more flat bottom breakish at this level. But what it is doing is it's encountering a buyer at the volume weighted average price. So the 620 area, 6 mid-teens, it seems to be getting bought up there. But when you look at the pattern, there's nothing changing in terms of higher highs. So you feel the bears certainly still in control, or people still offloading their position. We haven't changed the pattern where we're getting, the decidedly higher lows and the higher highs, maybe into $7 or something like that. So that one's still eluding us in terms of a strong bullish move to the high side. But VRME is picking up the slack because it is moving up bigly here. Shout out to VRME. We'll keep an eye out on that one.
Hey, good luck. Were you a Kappa guy back in the day, Sharif?
Kappa, the clothing?
Yeah.
No.
The Fat Farm. Did you wear Fat Farm or anything?
I didn't wear. I wore Inichi.
Inichi,
which was Nelly's brand.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. No. Inichi Vocal. Vocal was Nelly's brand,
Okay.
and then Inichi. People said it differently. It's ENYCE.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah. That was pretty. It was like it was good clothing back.
I remember Kappa was like kind of in my earlier days, and like the starter visor. You'd have the starter visor.
Do you have the beats going though?
The beats? No.
Yeah.
What are those?
What?
Yeah.
I can't say the other word on YouTube because it could be adjudged to be racial.
Oh.
But there was a word.
Yeah.
It starts with G.
Yeah.
And then beats.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think I see
So did
where
you
you're
have
going
the
there.
beats?
No,
That's
I
weird.
didn't,
Oh.
man. I didn't. I had the and ones on with
Katina Man.
yeah, with the kappa.
He had the kappa on without having the beats on.
Yeah.
You know what kind of beats we're talking about, right? He's the one to tell me.
Yeah, I mean, the starter visor, and the and1 shoes there.
Hey.
That was the go-to get up. Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers
Love it.
and1.
course.
So
Sick
that was those are
Clothing,
yeah,
shoes,
exactly.
you had everything
and1,
and1,
yeah.
bro.
That was good stuff. And1. Yeah, guys. I mean, someone in the chat mentioned Broadcom starting to break out. A lot of these stocks are sitting in the same area. Really strong 5-minute opening drive here from Broadcom, but now forming that kind of wedge or that pennant here. But we're not getting that breakout volume just yet. Running into some key resistance levels here, guys, on Broadcom. But you can see the similarities in some of these tech stocks here. AAPL sitting around those, we're now breaking out, but you can see that we broke through that resistance. All similar, and we'll go to NVDA here real quick as well, too, to see the similarity and just how everything's kind of moving in tandem here. So yeah, rejecting those resistance levels and now heading back into their range. A little bit of a choppy session, that gap down in the market when we opened up, no real cover rally just yet, but maybe other than on Apple, but pulling back in as well too here now, guys, is some of these heavy names, and with Tesla coming back in, but no longer at the high of day, guys. So yeah, continue to let us know. What do you got going on there, my guy?
The other way, we're still short IBIT.
Still short IBIT 53s. Let's take a look here at what IBIT is up to. Pulling back into the volume weighted average price here. Tina Man short. Let's see if we break 52.70. He is okay. So that's up there. So
SMCI right now.
and he's shorting SMCI right now. So let's take a look at that. He's been in IBIT for a hot minute, so a couple hours now. He's been sitting in there, and now he's short SMCI from what?
Right here.
Right here. Okay, so he's going to look for that move back into 85s. He's going to look for that move back into the volume weighted average price. And if he breaches it and breaks that key pivot level there sitting right at 30, I think there's going to be some more downside here on SMCI. So good look, double look there from Katina Man. Took a second stab here at Google as the overall market started to pull back into that range, not getting that breakout. That volume was not there. Lunchtime hour, overall sentiment somewhat weak with that gap down at the open here. Let's see if we get that breakout. We break 189.20s out of Dodge. Gonna reassess the situation and look for relative strength here. But so let's pull back the TSLL. We should have stuck with that because it was strong. Nice move here on TSLL from a 1 minute standpoint. And then we got stopped out break even. And then I just was like, I didn't think we were gonna go and test that high a day again. But sure enough, we did. Held the volume weighted average price really strong. So you can use VWAP in this instance as an indicator from a primary trend standpoint, saying, okay, we've been trading above the volume weighted average price for the majority of the session. Let's look for the continuation within the trend. And sure enough, pretty much picture perfect there from Tesla while the overall market continues to chop around. Now, let's take a look at what you guys are looking at. Put in the chat what you're looking at. We'll go over that real quick before we send it back to my guy, Sharif. A lot of people are going on about VRME. Sharif went over that one. So RGTI, yeah, let's take a look at Rigetti, RGTI, and see what's going on. I haven't looked at this one for a while, and nor did I really trade it when it was kind of extremely memey. But wow, what a beating this thing has taken from a daily standpoint. Let's see from a percentage metric how much we are down off of those all-time highs as we were in play just not too long ago. What a monster run. Now giving back over probably 90% of those gains, which is not too fun. You don't want to be bag holding that. Down 70% off those all-time highs is Rigetti, Sharif.
All right, guys, we're in VRME here. We're scalping a little bit. Got some out in the 80s. It's got a great looking hammer candle at this level. It's going to have to hold up above 60. Otherwise, Gonzino there. Sorry, 50. Otherwise, Gonzino there. We're long 68, so we'll risk 18 pennies. This is the one that I'm kind of happy with right now, DATS. We just got the print there at 35. Still elusive is that 44 print. And that's where we got the print last time. We got the print the $0.50. So, we're still putting in lower highs. That's why I'm trying to mention that. The the initial out that we had was the best out you could have had on the day, 56s, and then you had 48s, and now we're getting incrementally lower highs. Surprise, surprise. So bears feel like they're certainly in control of this one, even though we're above VWAP, because we've had 4 area troughs now on the 5-minute. You can even see it on the 1, 2, 3, and 4, all of which are lower than its predecessor. So a bit of a tougher look there. Here comes VRME. We've de-risked a little bit on this one. Anything below 50, I'm gone on this one on VRME. I'm going to talk a little local though. Okay, so we're out of this one. So Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Now that I can concentrate a little bit.
All right.
The mayor of this great city.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Olivia.
Olivia
Chow.
Good lady.
Yeah.
Kind lady.
Yeah.
Kind at heart.
Uh-huh.
But maybe
Yeah.
not kind enough.
Oh.
7%. In addition to the rinsing we got last year.
Oh, unemployment.
Property tax going up another 7% this year. 6.9% increase for everybody who lives in the great city of Toronto. And last year we had like a 9 print or a 10 print, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, well.
Because look, we're in our income generating time of our life. Can't say that about everybody though.
No.
Especially those on fixed income.
Yep.
What the hell are they supposed to do when in 2 years you have 17% increase on your property taxes?
Yeah.
It's like almost they pay off their house, but then they got to rent their house from the government.
Yeah, well, that's essentially what we're getting at
What
here.
in the hell is
again, just
happening
from
here,
from a
bro?
from a tax standpoint, we know we got the new capital gains as well too. So it's really tough look here north of the border. I mean, just getting rinsed left, right, and center
It's
from
insane.
tax. But one thing that I found interesting too, I'm sure you watched the JP and Pierre podcast there. One thing that I found interesting is that Ontario being kind of the richest province, right? You know, you heard what he was saying. You know, you see where I'm getting it.
Yeah,
you know, with Mississippi, right? So
Mississippi.
so us here north of the border, we have Toronto. So this is where we would be classified as the richest province, the richest inhabitants of Canada. But unfortunately, we are poorer than the poorest state in America, which is Mississippi. So yeah,
and I feel like I'm getting my money's worth with property tax. The roads are clean and clear.
Yeah.
There's no crime. Potholes.
There's no crime
at all. I don't have to dodge any obstacles on my morning drive. The subway system is always on time. There's never weirdos or crazy ass people in the subway. Everything's good. You know, the infrastructure is perfect.
It's a tough look. I don't know.
Boy.
But the thing is, but Sharif, the thing is though, like we don't do anything about it, right? We just keep getting these tax hikes, and then sure enough, it's like, all right, we got to go to work the next day. You know what I mean? So it's like we can't do anything.
17%.
Yeah, man, that's tough.
2 years, 17%. I heard like a little bit of you know, they were trying to compare it to, you know, York region. Like, and by the way, that's like different counties, you could say, around the Toronto area. So LA County's got a bunch of different cities. Orange County's got a bunch of different cities. So one of the regions we have here, Peel region, York region, Durham region, these are all areas that sound Toronto. They pay a little bit less tax than technically we pay in Toronto. But they also get a lot better service, quite frankly. Their roads are a lot better, and, you know, things are a little bit safer out there. So yeah, it's a bit of a tougher situation over here. Yeah? You want to bet? Okay. So do you know what the murder rate per capita is in the city versus what it is in Peel? Oh, it's like double what it is in the city.
I'm not worried about getting murdered. I'm worried about.
Well, I'm worried about getting murdered.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, I would be a little worried. I think on it. Yeah,
no, I'm worried about getting murdered.
I would be. I mean, I don't know. Like you got to. I would be a little worried on that front. But again, usually here, it's like if you're not causing any problems, then. But I know what Katina Man's getting at, because the crime rate in Peel region has gone through the roof. Wayner showed me essentially a heat map of all the crimes in Peel region. and it's up like 300-400% in a year. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's a well-run city.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Very well.
But the mayor that they had she was like one of the only cities that wasn't in debt or something for an extended period of time.
Bonnie Crombie?
Yeah, the previous
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
she was
yeah.
actually like half decent, wasn't she? I was like,
She's trying to run now
again
against Doug Ford.
But I mean, I don't know, Sharif. What could you do as a citizen when you continuously getting all these tax hikes?
You can vote.
You can vote.
What are you supposed to? Leave.
Yeah.
You
can leave.
Yeah.
You can leave, but then where you can't go to the States because now your dollar's only worth 66 cents.
There you go.
So where you going? Like, and trying to find it. Yeah. So
all the good
there
stuff.
you go. So
all right, Hive Digital Technologies is pioneering the digital transformation through sustainable AI solutions in Bitcoin mining, a global leader in cutting-edge data center operations with over 2,700 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Hive consistently tops industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash and is redefining the future by powering the world's most transformative technologies with efficient, green, and clean energy. Learn more by following them at Hive Digital Tech or hivedigitaltech.com. and sign up for the Hive newsletter for updates. Shout out to the great folks there at Hive, baby. All right, what do we got here? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Car thieves are getting bold where I live. Oh, they're getting bold over here too, bro. Just ask anybody who lives in the city. Eddie R., don't worry, you will be an American soon. No, not this again. If you're worried about getting murdered, gotta change your life, says Sean. Okay, I'll definitely take that into consideration. TikTok ban in the U.S. We're all Canadians now, says Charlie Card. Yeah, I love how we're going with this 51st state thing. White Nubian King, Sharif packing. No, I'm not. Certainly not. You're not allowed to do that up here. Unless you got the PAL license plate over here.
Yeah.
License, I should say. And Nicole Harris, U.S. citizens do not want to hear this. I heard you guys got snow in Atlanta, Nicole. Big... a lot of videos of like big snow piles and stuff like that down there. Atlanta this weekend, school was canceled today for many electric outages and water outages all over ATL. Ridiculous. Eddie R., remember a lot of times increases of taxes is due as well. The public authorities having to pay higher costs from private providers. Yeah, we kind of have the same rules as you guys down there where municipalities can't run a deficit. They're statutorily prohibited. So either they get more money from the province or get more money from the Fed, or they got to raise rates or cut services. This mayor is not going to cut services. That's not what she was elected on, nor is it kind of her, again, modus operandi. So it's definitely going to be, you got to pick up the tab. But yeah, I totally hear what you're saying, brother. Makes absolute sense. What else we got? People talking about in the chat. Derek S., DJT, long working. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, it did actually break the volume weighted average price, but was able to recover above that. Kind of I don't want to say it's a random area, but I didn't gauge 38.18 or 38.30 if you look at the closing print as a level of support. I mean, you kind of had a little whiffle waffle in and around there, but this is kind of the midpoint of the range. So I guess maybe there is some sort of, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have earmarked that area as a clean area to put a dip trade on, but shows what I know. This one's clearly now moving up. 5 candles in a row right now on the 5-minute chart is green, trying to take out that 39.5. It's up 11 3/4. 40.85 HOD. Certainly had a lot of trouble with 40 because it got above that area, about 40 1/3, I would say. And then it started doing the topping tail game where it just, was definitely trying to break through that 40.5, but you felt somebody was shorting a storm up there. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles with topping tails, and then down we went. But we're trying to make another move back up into that area. DJT, let's see if there's anything coming in on the blotter. What are what's Benzinga saying? Shares are trading higher. Monday, a week ahead of, okay, so I guess. I mean, we already knew that he was going to have his inauguration on the 20th. Didn't realize that it was because it was a week. Just reading this real quick to see if there's anything else. No, it's just all inauguration based, or at least it seems right now. A lot of people asking why DJT is moving. When I was walking back there, Wayne was wondering as well. Nobody really seems to know. Doesn't really matter because it's moving. So let's trade it from a technical sense if we're going to trade it at all. 39.5 right now, Joseph, is where this bad boy is popping out.
Yeah, good look there. Let's see if we can start to crawl a little bit higher in the market here, just like the Toronto property tax here, because if we can get somewhat of that gain, that would be really nice. Sitting in some Google, a little bit of an addition here as we head into those resistance levels. The volume on the lower time frame slightly starting to step in. Nothing from a momentum standpoint to get overly excited about. If we head back into that range, then it is what it is, just going to chop around, I think, for the session. But Apple is starting to recover from that gap down, and then Tesla's still hovering around those highs of days. So some relative strength on that front. Let's take a look at Meta, because we haven't talked too much about Meta. We know what Mark's up to, especially with kind of the censorship here on the platforms now. Let's zoom in here from and see, look. So I mentioned this is what Broadcom kind of looks like, what Apple was looking like, NVDA, excuse me, and now Google as well too, running into some key resistance zones. That volume is going to need to step in order for us to punch through that. Otherwise, it might just be a little bit of a grind here if it does decide that it wants to break and just kind of just slowly grind higher. But with the likes of Apple trading higher, I think that Meta can start to get their ball rolling. So yeah, let's see Meta. Good look there. Actually, let's hold on Meta here. Let's see how far off those all-time highs we are real quick before we jump back into Google and see what that's up to. So not too much. I remember last week Katina Man was talking about Meta not being too far off, which it was earlier in the week, but now just about 4.3% off those all-time highs. And Google was knocking on the door of all-time highs as well too, folks, here just the other day. But what a beautiful double top here, Sharif, on Google here with that wick. So you can see buyers push price all the way up to this $200 price target, and then sellers just flushing it all the way down. And then now we're running into some key support levels. So keep those eyes on that, guys. If we do break that to the downside, then maybe we see some more downside in the overall market. Again, I mentioned time and time again, earnings season on the horizon. So wait and see how these reports come out. If we continue in this, if the earnings support a move higher, I do think that the market is going to continue in that way. We got to keep our eyes on guidance, right? We got to see how the 2025 the outlooks are going to be for even Q1, Q2, and all the quarters, because. So yeah, that's something that I'm keeping an eye out. I want to see those guidance raised. So there's Google. I think Google's a buy the dip at any moment. So I mentioned last week as well too, just how it's like its own utility. You got Willow in the quantum space, then you got Waymo in autonomy, and then now you have YouTube as well too. So yeah, a lot going on. Gemini in the AI race. So a lot going on for Google. Sitting in this trade here, breaking through some resistance as we speak. Sharif, what do you got going on, my guy?
No, nothing, man. We're involved now in Donald John Trump at 80s, looking to scalp into 40s if it can have me into that 40 area. We got some out there. Let's see if this one wants to continue going. I'm still holding DATS. This one, though, it did top out into that 635, and then that's as good as we were going to get right there. Now, we're not putting in lower lows, but we're certainly not putting in higher highs, and that has me concerned, obviously. So there we just get DJT at 40s, okay? So we'll take off a little bit over here. Let's set up now on the north side of 40. I do expect some resistance, though, at that $40 level. I mean, you just have to. It's a whole dollar level, right? An area of psychological resistance. You didn't have a whole lot of holdup, to be fair, at 40 earlier. It kind of cleared 40 quite aggressively, but this is the second time around, and you know, just my estimation is 40 might act as resistance. Now, I'm less inclined to want to base anything off the volume weighted average price at these levels, just because it didn't respect VWAP on the way down. So it seemed to respect the 50 exponential moving average on the 5. And that's what it respected. So I don't want to have a dip trade, say, at 39, or, you know, get out at the $0.50 and then set up again at VWAP. I don't think that's the move. I'm obviously a little bit late to the party over here, but we got burned on this one earlier, so we had to be a little bit careful. So 40 showing up and 40's rejecting. That's a few times now that the whole dollar level has acted as resistance on Donald John Trump. It's up 13%. It's really trying to take out 40s again. Here comes attempt number 3 from since I've seen. There is size posted at 40. It's not the biggest. Right now, I only see about a few hundred lots. But as we get closer to the whole dollar level, I'm talking about 40 bucks, usually it shows me a bit of a clearer picture of what actual size is posted there. But we all know that it's not about what's posted at the level, but the iceberg orders that may or may not come in. If you're a newer trader, iceberg orders means hidden orders, ones that you can't typically see by looking at the level 2 or the book, as we call it here on the floor. And right now we're getting close to it. It looks like it's the same size that was posted earlier. There we go. We took out 40s on the ask, not on the bid. Okay, so it's got to cross on both sides. Now we're crossing on both 05s, 03s. I'm waiting at 08s, and there's the print. Okay, so Donald John Trump is on the way up, and it's been a hot minute since I started yelling about Donald John Trump because we were trading this plenty before the election. That's when it was in vogue, right? Hold on. What was that level? 18s, I think it popped up into 40 18s. I saw about 500 lots or so at 18s. Those are gone. So that's interesting. It just posted and then it came back again. So now 19s on the ask. Okay, so it's 12s. 12. How's that possible? I don't get it. We cleared 12s by some distance. There we go. Now we're clearing it. Okay, here I'm waiting at the quarter dollar. 23. 23 is a bit of an iceberg order. So what I was talking about there was size posted at 12, and it was the same size. It was 288 lots on 2 different gateways. We cleared it, and then it came back, and that size was still there. So either reposted, okay, now we're really squeezing here on DJT. Now it comes the half dollar. So I'm going to look to see if we can take out the high of the day. We're in at 80s. 40.85 is the high of the day on Donald John Trump.
Nice trade, man.
It's okay, bro. I'm still negative on the day, but it's all good. We'll look to take out the high there, 40.85 HOD on DJT. This one could squeeze. It's been a minute since we traded this, so I'm pleased as dang punch involved. Get it, Adara. I'm pleased as dang punch, as Adara likes to say sometimes, trading this bad boy because it seems to have a lot of participation when people jump in. So DJT breaking up above the whole dollar level, but we know we've seen this story before. It broke above 40 before, only to retrace all the way down into 38 and change. So let's see if we can take out that 40.85 HOD. The other trade I'm involved in and that I've been in almost all day is DATS. Still hanging out at 6 1/5 right now, with not much in the way of volume coming in on this one. The volume really has dried up. What's up on DATS? What do you got on there? You're looking at Apple calls?
Yeah, bro. IV 23.9%. That's cheap, man. You're not even paying for implied volatility.
I don't know what's cheap and what's not.
Okay, the 23, yeah, 23% is like kind of like really, really cheap. When you get into the hundreds is when it's really expensive and you're paying more for it.
100%?
Yeah. So like DJT right now is sitting.
Or implied vol?
Yeah, implied volatility. So DJT calls expiring this week have an IV of 150%. So you're paying for the implied volatility within the contract. So those contracts are expected to fluctuate more, essentially.
Apple above 233, which is interesting. Does it change intraday?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm assuming as the price moves up or down, that's going to change as well.
Yeah, the more it fluctuates. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The more it fluctuates.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised at those Apple calls because I was talking about it from a daily perspective. So let's pull up. So again, whoa, okay. So that's sorry. Yeah, excuse my French there. It's from 249. So yeah. So again, yeah. So but again, really relatively cheap here on the Apple front. And I want to point this out from a daily perspective. I thought they'd be a little bit more expensive here, but we have this hammer here, Sharif, and then now we're gonna looks like we're gonna print an additional one. So that's potentially a double turnaround signal in my books. This is just how I perceive things. Again, so we had that hammer here, gap down below it, but now we're printing another one here. So I was just looking at the options chain, saying, okay, maybe I want to play somewhat of a bounce play, but I always want to give myself more than enough time So that's why I was kind of looking at the August calls, because I don't want to have to worry about theta at all within these contracts. So yeah, I mean, 23.9%, relatively cheap on the options front. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. And then Havana Woody. So this, let me lead into what Havana Woody just asked me in the chat as well too. He said, Joe, what do you think about DJT calls heading into the inauguration? And I said, I don't like them. And I don't like them because of the implied volatility. Yeah, so you're paying an extreme amount for those premiums, and then you need, come inauguration, you need DJT to significantly move higher. Otherwise, that volatility is going to start to dwindle and compress, and then you would have lost money on the implied volatility front. Yeah, because so you're paying for the IV at 123%, but if that volatility doesn't step in and it starts to dwindle, you paid for something that is so so that is extremely more expensive, and then once it compresses, that's not going to fluctuate the contract that much, and therefore you overpaid for something. So something you have to keep an eye on. Wayner always points that out to me. He's like, so what's the IV sitting at when we are talking options? And it's such a key metric. So yeah, that's exactly why I would say no. You'd want to get involved in that significantly earlier, and that's why I like where Apple is sitting right now at 23.9%. with an expiry of something in August. So yeah, I like that look here with that double turnaround signal potentially. So gonna continue to pay attention to that on that front. Let's break it down here. As you can see, we are now starting to recover that gap down in the earlier pre-market session. Now running into key pre-market support here. Let's see if this momentum continues here in Apple and we break through those key levels.
Joseph, there's a lot happening right now. That's just, we took out that 45 print. So now DATS is putting in higher highs. Okay, so that was not the case. We waxed poetic, to use an Adair term, about how the lower highs were in control, but how we were also getting higher lows. Now that's kind of the tune there has changed. We got the print there at 45s. Still involved in Donald John Trump. Got one out left, packing my patience, but it's this one now that I've got my eyes on. Goodness gracious, this is volatile. TPET, Tepit, whatever, is the name of this bad boy. What's the actual company name? Trio Petroleum. A monstrous $15 million market cap with about 8 4/5 million shares traded today, and a float, of 41.5 million shares, and the actual short float, 15%. Okay, that's why we're getting this kind of volatility. TPET, it's up 50%, but as you can see, this is an ugly, ugly looking candle moving into 315. We're back down into 289. I mean, again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but do not put too much stock into one topping tail candle for these small cap gappers. It is not the same as seeing it on a large cap at a key area. What's going on over there, Katina Man?
Short Apple 30.
The Katina Man short Apple 233.30, and he's taken that bad boy to the grave. Say it again.
Into the pre-market.
Just got into the pre-market low he goes. Where is that? 229 and change?
No, I'm saying here. Come over to the
Go to the Katina Man screen. If we're able to. There we go.
Say that I was just shorting it into this.
Oh, got it.
So
Got it.
market right here.
Yep.
So we're shorting right now into those.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That's a good entry.
We are also beginning to get a little bit spicy meatballish here on SPCE. We haven't added to it. We're actually waiting down at 80. We got this there, trying to get that position right there. Your boy is still short here on IBIT, but we just covered a bunch there. Do not break through 52. We missed that. We're at the gym. 1.2 kilometers today. Not bad. And then Mom Spaghetti, our favorite here. Used to be Penne, but now we're on Rigetti. Right there, nice to get it down.
Penne is still number one, bro.
I still like Penne.
Yeah, Penne number one. Yeah. Have you had Penne before?
Of course.
Ooh, I don't know, bro. I don't know if you're a foodie, bro.
I'm a foodie. I would think
Are
so.
You
Yeah, I'm
legit?
a foodie guy.
Yeah. It's so sick.
I love going to. Have you been to Scatterbush? Obviously.
I have not.
What?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
See, don't
So
make
yes,
assumptions.
so
You know what happens when you make assumptions?
Well, you could be wrong.
You assume.
You assume. You assume. Okay, so don't assume. There you go. Don't assume. But yeah, I'm a big cheese guy. I will go to Scatterbush and I will get that ball of mozzarella. Yeah, fire. What is it? It's not slipping my mind right now. Whatever one I get, but yeah, I always get the extra ball of cheese there. Fire. The balsamic vinegar. That's a good.
I like Panay because it just adds flavor, bro.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, and it's got like.
Are you a rosé? Are you a rosé type guy? Alfredo, just tomato sauce, like tomato and basil.
I don't mind that. Yeah, I mind Alfredo. I'm not like too much because I don't carb up
you don't carb up,
much.
you don't carb up too much there.
The protein, that's the Panay, right? So that's why I'm all about how I can get my protein in varieties.
All right. Yeah, switching.
But the carbs, Joseph, I like carbs, but we're not really gonna chase them. We're gonna use them, eat them functionally, baby. All right. I want to show this chart here to kind of make my point about these small cap gappers that are around for a good time, not really for a long time. Andre, if I can, please, on the chart. This is the print that we had over here at 646. And as quickly as we got the print at the top wick, 646, it dipped into 590. Just like that,
Bang.
1 minute candle. And then it holds. The funny thing about this whole thing is it's still a higher low. So this is so algo driven, right? You kind of feel that it's being driven within a certain range. And I find it hard to believe that somebody sitting there on their computer actually being able to execute in this way. So we're still putting in higher lows. A better trader would add at this position because we're above the volume weighted average price. We haven't broken any lower. We're putting in higher lows. But that's the look right now on DATS, right back into that 6 area. Anything below my entry, I'm gone. I've already placed my stop there. But Donald John Trump is continuing to go. We're still in at 80s. It's breaking the 60s. I think it just printed 65s. Let's see if, what's it called? DJT wants to take out that HOD. The high of the day on Donald John Trump, is 40.85. So we're doing well. We're still putting in higher highs and higher lows, but the vigor with which we were ascending has kind of slowed down, to be expected right now on DJT. Pack your patience if you're involved in this one, but also exercise good risk management. I want to talk also about VRME. This trading right into that $5 area, 496, and the aggression with which this one dropped from 496 into that $4 area and then finds support immediately at VWAP. So trading at 416 right now. It hasn't changed its tune in the sense that it's still putting in lower lows and lower highs, but finding, at least for the moment, on an intra-candle basis, support at $4, and by extension of that, obviously, VWAP. You love when those those two levels overlap. I'll get it right, because it's psychological support at 4, and then obviously volume weighted average price being used by algos and other mechanical trading systems that base their trades off it. So VWAP in play right now on VRME. You're a bit above it, but it's awfully close to that level. Now, if you were to get in at VWAP, what would be the plan if it was to break down? Well, you don't really want to place your stop right below $4, because then you're subjecting yourself to a specialist breakdown, then a move back up. Personally, I would gauge support to be about 375, owing to these two area crests over here at 945 and then again at 1110. So we're breaking down again below VWAP, and that's why I said don't put your stop right below VWAP like that. This interesting area right here at 375 could be a dip trade. That would be breaching my rule, though, of entering a small cap gapper as a long south of VWAP. So I'd place my stop there, but I wouldn't necessarily enter there on a dip trade. It would have to be above VWAP for me to get in. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. DATS coming back down. Donald John Trump, though, is in the high 60s now, and it looks like it's poised to take out that 4085 HO-dang-T. Here we go, 72s now showing up on the ask. It's been a symphony of higher highs and higher lows ever since that candle of indecision that we printed at 1230, right at 1230, was the turning point. Do you guys remember the TSN turning point? Yes.
Yeah, that was the best, man. TSN.
I love it with these guys, though. All right.
Remember Landsberg on there?
Michael Landsberg. Yeah, he lives near Brendo.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Tell Landsberg
Brendo sees him. Yeah. So here we go. Donald John Trump on the way up now into the high 70s. Likely there is a new high of day, 40.86. There is size 1 penny above the high of the day at 86. It's about 500 lots from what we can see. Likely more on the iceberg side of things right now. I'm just going to let this one cook because I have a feeling this was going to take out 41. And God knows where this goes if it squeezes above 41. I don't even know what the short float is on this anymore. It's changed probably fundamentally since we looked at it. Let's have a look. I'm not seeing anything, boys, on the short float for trade ideas, so we're kind of flying blind there. I'll look to see if another platform has it, but for the moment, we're flying blind right now on Donald John Trump with respect to what the percentage of the float is short, Joseph. DJT up 15.5, but finding resistance now at that said high day, even though it printed above the high day by 1 penny. Now we're coming back into the 60s, into the 50s, so it looks like the short could be on here. We'll have to wait and see. Does this one retrace with aggression, or are we going to continue above 41? Big move down now off the high, about 30 pennies and change there. Sebastian, big Trump win on break. Yeah, shout out to you, my man. Enjoy there. All right, I appreciate that, Neil. Neil just sent me the short float for DJT, 9.12%. I agree with you, Neil. Seems a little low, but that could be up to about 14 days old. That data, it's updated by the exchange every 14 days. I think we should have like transparency. Look, I think you should open up different trading avenues, but open up transparency at the same time. So, why do you need a 2-week turnaround to see the short float? Why do you need T+2 or whatever we're doing these days? Like, I feel like we have the technology to have everything as instantaneous as it really should be. That way we don't need to fly blind, right? And let me know who's short. Why don't you tell me who's short? If you're short a stock, put your name out there. Just increase transparency is kind of what I'm saying. Let everybody know so we don't have to wait for your 13 to find out, that Nancy bought another 10,000 shares of whatever. NVDA. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you're saying put everything on the blockchain.
Oh, Joseph. Okay, there we go.
I mean, if you want,
how do you do that though with the market?
Yeah, that would be tough.
The Australian market tried to do that.
Did they?
Yeah, from my understanding, and I'm very, very limited in my information. So fact check me on this. My understanding is one of the Australian exchanges tried to switch the entire market into blockchain.
Oh, really?
And it didn't either work well or they didn't follow through. Something like that happened. I'll see what the chat says about that. They probably know more about it than I do. But
if you want the transparency, we all know that offers that. You can see every transaction and who did it. So if you can correlate, the address with the transaction, you can find out who sold what and who bought what at whatever specific time. So there you go. Maybe Sharif, maybe you're onto something there, my guy, to see where everybody is. Sorry, the tickers for the next one.
Oh, yeah.
You know what, guys? We did forget. We forgot to document our Playmaker poll here. Yeah, we did because we were just having too much fun talking about taxes and stuff like that. But one thing I wanted to just kind of switch up here, Sharif. So that's what I was just looking at. Before you sent it to me, I was actually looking at the 0 DTE SPY calls because I said that we're going to kind of transition to see if we were going to kind of move, just do a little experiment of with calls opposed to just outright common stock. So I don't know if that's going to work from a 0 DTE standpoint, but we can always give it a try. But maybe we just document here. We're a little late on the entry, so maybe we just document here and see what we got going on for this session.
All right.
So you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
Okay, so SPY, 579.46.
All right, well, let me pull it up here. You prepared? 579.
46.
579.46.
So we're going to stop out 578.46.
578.46.
And then we're going to wet our beak at 581.46.
581.46. All right, good stuff. Little late on that entry there, folks.
Okay.
Apologies. Yeah, so we'll take it from there. 100 shares is how it goes. I know a lot of people want to try out the options thing, so we will. Don't worry about that. We just got to figure out some logistics about that, and then we'll get that all sorted out for you guys. But here we go. And here's the equity curve, guys. Really nice bounce off the bottom. So I like that on this front. And this is why we keep it from a 2-to-1 ratio, right? So we went on a pretty tough streak here. So let's break it down from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of the last 8 sessions, we were red of them 6. But then we have 2 wins that amount to half of those losses. So that's a good look there on that front. This is the whole aspect of the 2-to-1 ratio. So let's see if we can hit another target today as well too, guys. So there it is, playmaker poll, good stuff there. Yeah, and then we're gonna look to implement some options contracts just from a chain standpoint as well too. So yeah, good stuff, guys. Let's see what's going on with Google. We are starting to break out on some of these names. Apple's still hovering around the intraday high, still within that 5-minute range. What do you got going on? Covering more Apple? All right. So yeah, covering more Apple is Katina Man. Good look there on his behalf. Let's see. I mean, it's either, I think, on this one, Katina Man, that we squeeze here, or you get that capitulation back towards the volume-weighted average price. So yeah, only time will tell as we start to slowly recover. I mean, Tesla's starting to pull back in as well too. DJT, NVDA still chopping in that range, and Google's starting to pull back as well too. So that's really good for Katina Man's thesis. You know what he's looking for that move back to the VWAP, or just it's going to squeeze and we continue higher. So, yeah.
Okay, come over to my screen just quickly here, Andre. I just want to ask Joe's opinion because I know he's looking at IBIT all the time, and you and I both trading that here today. So we traded, we missed that 53. We wrote down that we really liked the 53. At the time, it was the 200 period moving average. But what say you down here at 52? Like, we keep on holding VWAP. It's coming back in right now. We have a bunch of covers down here right now, looking to get a little bit lighter on this. Have you been looking at all? And I apologize because I've been paying attention, but you haven't been talking about IBIT too much.
No.
What do you think now about this 52 level, asking for a friend?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we breach this 52, Katina Man, we know that we gapped down overnight. Well, I guess the Bitcoin under the spot traded, and we broke those key support levels, at that 92K. I think this is just a little bit of a liquidity grab until we head south. And I think 52 is going to be a real pivotal moment here. If we break it, then I think that momentum is going to start to pick up, because that's also a key support level here on IBIT. And then there's going to be potentially some more south side on IBIT. So yeah, that's my thesis there on Bitcoin. Yeah, and we'll pull up spot here real quick too, guys. Even though, and I was listening to Josh Brown talk about this a little bit too. So now Bitcoin is more accessible. We can trade it. It's slightly more liquid because of the spot ETF. So now you're kind of getting that, everybody being comfortable with trading this. You don't have to go to a sketchy exchange like FTX or something along those lines. You can now go to your broker and be like, hey, I want to own some Bitcoin, which can also have a positive and negative effect on this underlying asset. So you may not see that volatility step in, and it may prolong some things as well too, because of people having the ability to access cash significantly quicker. So I think that in the coming days, we break this, and then we go into this range where we kind of broke out here, and then we had that exuberance in buying here and appreciation in price with that volatility skewed to the top side. But again, I do think that we break this. The sooner the better, in my opinion, even though we are hovering and we are making lower highs. Are we going to come back into this range? And if we do fail to make a high around this 102 level, you guys are good? Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought I missed something in the earpiece, sending it to him. But yeah, I do think there's going to be a little bit more downside here in Bitcoin.
Man wants to chime in.
Yeah.
No, I just want to chime in too, because Sharif might remember this one. We just talked about shorting Apple at that close. Well, guess what, Sharif? It is now 50 cents in the money.
Okay.
And I just want to tell everybody that when this kind of a trade happens, we're getting out now at the 50-period moving average. It is coinciding with this 2232. 232.80 level that we had right there. We're short in here in the 30s and 40s right now on Apple, brought to you live by Trader TV Live. We don't stop, baby.
Great short there off the pre-market low consolidation area, Katina Man. It wasn't a random area that he chose, guys. He earmarked that pre-market area consolidation low, and he punched short once it popped into it. So shout out to him. All right, guys, the new poll is out. You got a couple of one small cap gapper, PHIO. It's up almost 400%. Then how could we not talk about DJT? It's up again. Who knows if it'll be in play this week as Donald Trump looks to get inaugurated as, what is he, 47 now? Yeah, 47th, right?
Is he? Yeah.
47th president, 45 and 47. You also have mRNA. Hey, it's a light day for mRNA, only down 20% or so. Then ETH really getting killed today. And that's not one we throw on there typically. It's down 9%, guys, and it's below $3,000. So ETH getting crushed today. Bitcoin still obviously performing a lot better than ETH, above 90,000 as we speak. closer to 92 than it is 91. I'm going to throw my weight behind DJT only because we traded it on the day, and it just behooves me to vote for it if I was trading it. So keep your eye out on that. Big blood in the streets today, whether for crypto, these large caps, even these mid caps, all getting crushed with most of the moving average, major averages decidedly red, with the best performing, the Dow up 0.5%, followed by the ES, only down 0.25%. There's a realistic possibility the ES could retrace and go green on the day. We'll obviously have to wait to see how it all ends up. But the Dow's got a fundamental lead right now, up 0.5%. The Rust getting creamed, but despite that, there are several small cap gappers that are up in triple digits. You've got 3, SLRX, you have PHIO, and you have KAPA. Then you have a couple of 90, 80% ones as well. So not too bad of a look right now for small caps, despite the fact that they have a headwind. And if you're wondering what's going on, well, why is the Rust down? I mean, what's going on with the Russell 2000? Well, the deal is that these small caps, the way that they raise money is they got to go into these debt markets, right? Because they don't have their own money like the large caps do, because, well, the large caps are just more rich. And so if they go into the debt market to raise, well, then that's going to obviously cost them money to borrow. And when it costs them money to borrow, it eats fundamentally into your margins, and then it creates a profitability problem there. So typically when we have a higher rate environment, small caps do not do as well. That's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, the technology could be so interesting and so strong or important that, you could end up catching a bit of a tailwind. But the fact of the matter is, if you're looking to raise money as a small cap in a high rate environment, usually you don't do that well, or it costs you a lot more. And as a result, your stock price pays the price. Your stock pays the price, I should say. So that's the situation right now. Now, I'm in VRME here because it's got a 4-candle hold up above VWAP. Let's see if this one wants to continue. It's one of those ones that was almost up triple digits. It's about 63.5% here. 4-candle hold up above $4, and by extension of that, the volume weighted average price. I did earmark price action support at 375, but it doesn't look like it wants to weasel down there, so I've removed that dip trade for now on VRME. How is DJT doing? We popped up into that high of the day. We printed a new high, and now we're looking like we're having trouble with the $0.50 as we try to break up above the $0.50 only to be met with more selling. So kind of a bit of a range right now between that 410 and that 450 area. We'll have to see how this one resolves.
Hey, good look there. I like how you put ETH on that, Sharif, on the rundown list, because I don't know if we looked at this from a daily perspective today. Dang, man.
It's ugly, bro.
Yeah, real ugly. Heading back into this
Yeah, it's below 3,000.
Yeah.
It's blood in the street.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. It should be swallowing the money because it's going away instead of. Do I like Cowboys? Yeah, I mean, hey. Yeah, I like the get up there. Yeah.
Do it again.
Pull it up there. It looks like Woody.
He always takes the opportunity.
He looks like Woody from Toy Story there.
A little bit.
Jerry Jones, all right, Jerry Jones. Our guy, JJ.
So did you don't watch Landman, do you?
Landman? No.
Yeah. Okay. It's Billy Bob Thornton. It's a new.
Billy.
Yeah. He's actually not crazy weird in this one, like he usually is, but he actually plays a sick character. So Landman, basically, you work for the oil companies, you acquire land, you acquire leases, and basically you bump and grind that way. That's the role he's playing.
Okay.
And Jerry Jones does a cameo in it, and it's like him acting, but not really. He's basically telling you the story of his life.
Yeah.
He went to SoCal, bought a few plots of land, and pumped. Instead of building houses, he built a couple of wells.
Yeah.
All the oil money that he used to buy the Dallas Cowboys with were made from those 4 wells.
Yeah,
it was like I could never believe that Jerry Jones could act in this way, bro. He was convincing. He brought some people to tears. You got to see some of what people are saying.
Yeah.
On I'm not even kidding. You got to watch it.
Why would I be brought to tears though?
Because of the rags to riches story. It seems that people like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no. But I mean, well, no, I like that. But other than that, I'm not going to be
lot of
crying
people were,
because
you know, they
this
were
guy
talking
owns
well about it.
this guy owns one of the most valuable franchises over there. So I'm not going to feel over sympathetic.
I don't think you should feel sympathetic for him because not sympathetic because he's rich. It's because he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. That's good for him. No, by all means.
Story.
Yeah, rags to riches is legit. No, I don't know. I think, yeah, that's a great story, but how much easier was it back then to start an oil rig company? He must have had some change on the sideline because you can't just build it out of nothing. So maybe he got some inheritance.
Well, he had like
or
a
something.
couple of properties that weren't much. I think it was like a shot in the dark.
Okay, and then
that
he just
these
leveraged
either
his
printed. They had oil or they didn't.
and it went broke.
And yeah, it was really interesting. I didn't know that was his story. Obviously, I knew he was an oil man, but I thought he was a Texas oil man.
Texas oil
no,
man.
he wasn't. He was a SoCal oil man. So it's
Interesting.
super interesting.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones. Obviously, we have our reservations about him as a GM, but
GM, player, owner, coach, Jerry Jones. Yeah, guys, here we are. Listen, just going back to Ethereum here, Sharif, we're heading back into this consolidation phase, putting in this head and shoulders pattern here on Ethereum. So you can see shoulder one, head, shoulder two, and then breaking through some key support levels. Now going south of $3,000. Yeah, tough look here. Having the inability to hold these all-time highs. I don't know if this is a genuine print here or anything, but yeah, tough look. But that breakout was extremely strong. So let's continue to monitor that. I want to go back and talk about AAPL just briefly and what we got going on from a daily perspective as well too, as I touched on it before. So let's see if we can start to continue to recover because this is a really, really nice signal. Multiple gap downs with those hammer and those bottoming tail prints there, Sharif. So if we can recover and hold this 229, I'm going to look for a little bit of a bounce. I want to see when Apple reports earnings too. So let me pull that up real quick, because if you can buy something along those lines and wait for that IV to step in on the report, then maybe there might be somewhat of a trade on that front. So let's pull up Apple here real quick and then see when we have earnings. It is on January 30th, so Thursday, a couple weeks away, so 2 weeks away.
Seriously?
Apple. Yeah, what do you?
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? It's coming up. Apple, yeah, 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks here. As we slowly start to climb higher here on Apple, again, nice hammer, nice hammer. Let's see if we can make a trade based off of that, because I think there is something to be had. But now let's take a look at NVDA, kind of just holding the overall market up here, Sharif, doing, as you would refer to, bub kiss on the session. Not too much going on here. Forming this kind of consolidation phase as price starts to compress, but we had that gap down in the morning and then had the inability to recover since. So, yeah.
It was interesting take from Zuck on. I don't know if you got to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Listen.
He gave his honest thoughts on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks, it's kind of like the discussion you and I had about manager and founder.
The lack of innovation.
Yeah, he just doesn't like their innovation. But he always complains. He's complaining a lot about the fact that they take 30% of apps. Basically, any in-app purchases or any in-store purchases in the App Store, he takes 30%. What he's failing to understand, in my opinion, is the cost that it created Apple to create that ecosystem. And that doesn't come for free. So you have to pay for that. Number two, 85% of the apps in the App Store aren't actually charged anything because they're mostly free. So it's only the in-app purchases specifically that you got to pay out from. So you could kind of, I completely agree with him in the sense that you've got really kind of mediocre innovation, but at the same time, I know he kind of has an agenda against them because they hurt him. They hurt his advertising business markedly when they had their privacy changes. So we'll have to see how he does. But he's creating an enemy because I think he basically put a target on what's his name's Tim Cook's head. Because now he's calling him out openly now. So he's going to have to deal with what comes with that. And I personally wouldn't want Apple looking at me as an enemy at this point.
Well,
but he looks like he wants to take them on because he's in the device game as well now.
Yeah.
Right? AR glasses, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about this, but we have to send it to Adair quick.
right,
Yeah, we'll send it to Adair quick. But yeah, from an innovation standpoint, we're going to touch on this a little bit more because a lot of people have been talking about it, actually.
Speaking of Apple, it's actually the top weighted name in the NASDAQ with about 10% of the weighting of the NASDAQ. This is a new graphic here from TTV Research. This was probably the largest graphic we've done thus far. This is every logo of every company in the NASDAQ 100. Interestingly enough, there's actually 101 listings in the NASDAQ 100, and that's because Google and so GOOG and GOOGL are two separate listings. So you can see here we have everything from the largest names in the index to some of these medium weighted names in the index to the remaining 80 names. Lots of interesting stuff here. ARM actually the lowest weighted name in the index here, ranked at number 100 or 101 when you consider the different weightings of Google and Google. But Palantir actually really high up on here. They're weighted, I believe, 23rd, even though they just joined the index. ASML on here as well. PDD, so some international names. Really interesting stuff. This will be up on our X account here, TTV Research, very shortly. So stay tuned for that here. You can take a look at the NASDAQ 100 weighting, guys. Back to you.
So from an innovative standpoint, what I guess it's hard to say because you want to see surprise on that front. But what would you expect to see? Like, do you want Apple to kind of, even though we know that they perfect what they do you want to see kind of like a new phone? Because this device hasn't essentially changed since the 3. It's just got a little bit smaller, a little bit wider, whatever, thinner, whatever it may be. But what would you want to see from Apple in order to kind of take that next step?
I personally
innovation?
would like to see the expansion of the services industry. Number one, because they have so many active devices they can monetize, and it's their number one margin product, about 82 or 83% gross margins on services. So that's higher than anything you could ever make on a physical good. That's except if your name is NVIDIA. They have 70-something% gross margins on a physical good. I know this is not a lot of stuff that we talk about as traders, but this is fundamentals that we definitely need to.
I think you need to understand. Yeah,
yeah,
I think you
absolutely.
Need to understand.
So personally, I'd like to see the services game really pick up, but at the other side of the coin, you got to make sure that the devices people are using the services on are up to snuff.
Yeah.
And like this phone has served me really well from the time that I got it. I got this April 2022. Look at it, bro.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I have a 10. You know what I mean? It's a little slow, but.
Well, but it's not too bad though. I bet you, given the OS that it's running. So personally, I like the devices. I don't like the creativity coming out. But I like the execution.
It lacks creativity, right? It
100%.
It lacks creativity. But again, we know that it's probably one of the most popular devices amongst youth. Like the youth don't want anything else. They want, hey, I want the Apple phone. But because that comes with the ecosystem, as you mentioned before.
100%.
You can get the iPads, the compatibility, the AirPods, and everything along those lines. But again, we kind of been stagnant on the innovation front. You can go back to the ones that were like blue and the colorful ones. It's essentially the same device, maybe just a little thinner, a little bigger. They changed the resolution of the screen, and you get these these up. It's nothing groundbreaking or game changing. You know what I mean? I think maybe the Orions are a little bit more innovative, like on that front, right? Because imagine you can just do everything from your specs, like. But then Apple, I think so too. Or having a watch that displays it. Have you seen those ones that display it?
No.
I don't know if it's just fake, but it's like kind of like a watch, and then it'll display it on your arm. It's like a little projection screen.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's real. Yeah, you've seen it around on ads all the time. I don't know how legit it is.
Interesting.
But a little watch and it displays with your screen on your arm or something along those lines. Just something different than what we are kind of used to here. Been for the past whenever the iPhone 3 came out. I don't know.
Good point, man. I definitely think the form factor of the future is glasses, just because you can overlay, right? And then it can be very personal. Nobody can see what you're seeing, kind of situation.
So how is it that Meta has the ability to drop these Orions, but then Apple comes out with like these scuba diving goggles?
It's interesting. We'll have to see. Apple will never tip their hand, though. So if they've got something in development, you won't know about it until it's like very close to coming out. But who knows? They could be behind on this. The truth of the matter is, they could have missed. They could have had a misstep. Like, we don't know what they've got in R&D, but the fact of the matter is, they may have completely missed the boat on that. Now, they did come up with some interesting stuff in the Vision Pro that they didn't have in all of Meta's iterations of that product until then, which was basically the eye tracking system. The clarity of the screen also is a very Apple-esque with the Retina displays that we've come to know on MacBooks, on iPads, on iPhones. So they really execute well in terms of the quality of the product. It's never been the quality. It's always been the innovation, lacks behind, and I think that they do that by design. So they can take your idea and they can perfect it, and then you spend the R&D on it, and then they take your money.
Well, I mean, Apple wasn't the first with the camera phone or anything along
Certainly
those
not.
lines, right?
Dude,
But then
camera phones were attachments
right?
to the phones in the before they were like fixed. Adara, what's up?
This part of the show is brought to you by eSignal. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience that can help you analyze, strategize, and capitalize. Foresee profitable opportunities with the platform you need. There's access to infinite data, which can lead to instant trading. Know where the market's moving before others with lightning-fast data and charts that change the game. Customize and analyze markets faster, your way. Better back-to-skin scanning can help you predict the future by understanding the past. And you also have access to reliable real-time data. So that's up-to-the-second market info from hundreds of global markets. Everything you need, all in one place. Don't miss a beat. Execute your best trades now with eSignal. Are you ready to elevate your trading? Scan that QR code or click the link in the description. Back to you.
It was a good-looking trade here, Joseph. Somebody in the chat was talking about the holdup at the volume-weighted average price at around 6 and change, and boy, were they right. What a move off 6 and change into that 9.5. But look, as quickly as we got into that 940 area, as quickly as we're selling off really aggressively. Key area of technical support, though, at 8. You'll see over here from around 1 o'clock till this candle over here, 130, we did reject $8. We couldn't clear it. Now we come back into 8. Do we hold 8? We've already wicked below it. We got into 780. So you've seen its propensity to wick below that 8. So don't place your stop below 8. Otherwise, you'll get stopped out. But the question I'm trying to see here, and by watching, obviously, the price action in the book, is to see whether or not we're getting buyers stepping in and around 8. Now, you can see this any number of ways. Look for large size posted on the level 2 in and around that 8 area. Also, keep your eye on the time and sales to see if any hidden orders are coming in that are being bought aggressively at 8. So you're looking for green or orange specifically on my time and sales over here, which is on the very left of your screen. Right down into 8 we go, and we're being met again with aggressive buying at 8. Below 8 we go, now into the 870s. Do we wick or do we bounce off? So it looks like we are going to give up the ghost possibly at that $8, 7.25, 7 2/3 right now on PHIO. Looking like it wants to bounce up again. So very interesting name, up 360% and trying to go again. But a bit of a bamboozler, that is, of course, unless you picked it up at VWAP because it was very strict in holding above that 6 and change area. And yeah, it wasn't a quick wick and then pop back up. No, it gave you about 20 minutes to 25 minutes in and around that VWAP area. So you had an opportunity to think it through and definitely get in. That was a missed trade on my part, no question about it. PHIO, triple-digit winner, 360-something% with a 975, Joseph, 979, excuse me, high of day. Well below that right now. Trying to fight, though, right back into 8. So it seems like it's bouncing off 780. It's now using 8 as resistance. Can we get back above 8? Not yet. We can't. PHIO definitely in play, but obviously very volatile, and by extension of that, very dangerous. So make sure you're exercising sound risk management skills, up 370% now.
Havana Moody said something interesting too. Sorry to backtrack a little bit here, but he says the iPod wasn't even an Apple original. Some company had MP3 player that recorded video and had 20 gigabyte drive. Man, I totally forgot about whatever these things are called again, the iPods. That seems so long ago. But yeah, again, but it just goes to the point where we touched on as well too, guys, is that they're usually very rarely first to the dance, but they just have the money to just be better than everybody else and perfect what they did.
I remember at the time, everyone, when the iPod came out, they're like, what is this car? Microsoft is going to crush them with the Zune. Have you seen the Zune?
I've never seen that.
Oh, my God. If you guys remember what the Zune is, Z-U-N-E, I think, or Z-U-N-E. Dude, it's in the Museum of Historical Artifacts at this point.
I feel like the iPod. Yeah, the iPod is definitely in the museum of historical artifacts.
What I did like about Apple, though, like they gave you so many variations of the same product. Remember the Nano,
The Shuffle.
Mini, the Shuffle, and then there was the actual one that looked like the phone itself, like the screen.
The bigger one. Yeah, it was like
had
it
like a full
actually. Yeah,
screen.
remember the circle dial that you could use? That was insane.
Yes.
That's
like it felt
insane.
a lot more innovative than it does now. That's just the truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like the Shuffle because when I was running all the time, you didn't have a big like hefty thing in your
you
pocket or
could clip
anything.
it.
You just clip it there, right? And you just have your music. Yeah, I loved my old iPod Shuffle there.
SanDisk clip says 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
I remember that. SanDisk obviously involved in storage, so it made sense that they would weasel into one. Bilbo Bag Holder also had a couple of SanDisk MP3 players since they were cheap, yeah? Apple behaves like China. R&D means receive and develop. Not really sure. Oh, R&D, receive and develop. I got you. Okay. Watching movies on that small screen was OG, says Juan Padilla. I do remember actually trying to use that thing to connect to the internet back in the day because it had Wi-Fi, but the browser on those, I don't remember if you guys remember the web kits that they used to have to put on those mobile browsers were super bad because that was before all the websites were tuned for mobile, so you had to actually view them as desktop, and that would like create havoc on the phone because so much JavaScript and Flash that was overwhelming the mobile devices. So those were like the infancy stages of mobile, right? Like that late 2000s, early 2010s. That's kind of what I remember there. Manuel Palma says Kappa is back at VWAP. I know, brother, but the thing is, it's been above and below VWAP far too many times for my liking over here to want to base anything off it. In my humble opinion, Manuel, it looks like it's using the 50 exponential moving average on the 5 as support because it's bounced here, and here, all of which were VWAP breaches, but neither of which breached the 50. It looks like, it did hold up at the 50 there. Miami Dragon, Apple actually stole it from, I think, either SanDisk or Blue River. I wouldn't be surprised, brother. That's kind of what we're saying, essentially there. Yeah, that does ring true to me. I'm not sure if that's actually true or not, but that's a look there. Hambone. The OG inventors typically don't perfect the invention. Xerox created the YSEG, Interfact, Panasonic, the CD player, Kodak, the digital camera. Your point very well taken there, makes absolute sense. We'll have to see though, does, the established order of things, Apple being number 1, and then Samsung being number 2 in quality. I don't know who's number 2. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I haven't had any other device other than Apple. Is that going to be the established order? Or do we get a reset, man, with all these new participants coming into the game? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I've obviously got my bets are already made here. So what else we got in the chat? You guys are coming up with some excellent comments today. Ronak Kumar, Sharif, what indicators do you use for penny stocks? So I call them small cap gappers, but you can call them penny stocks if you'd like. I use 4 moving averages and VWAP. So I'll have the 10, I'll have the 20, the 50, and the 200. 90% of the time, I'm using the 10 and the 20 to enter and exit trades that are trending, okay? That's an exponential moving average as well. And then VWAP, the other really big indicator that I use. I'll also chart the high, the low, and the closing print from the previous time around if it was like a holdover from the day prior. Those are good areas that you can kind of use as support and resistance as well, which is also very important for, these small cap gappers. So that's what I use, brother. Let me know if you want any more information on that. Top VOIP, Rigetti, looks like it wants to squadoosh, bro, to 5. Let's have a look at Rigetti. RGTI is the one I'm talking about. RGTI, let's see what this one's up to on the day. Rigetti is getting crushed. And yeah, by the way, Zuck piled on to the quantum, let's call it, what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically questioning whether or not quantum will be viable in the near future. He kind of said what Jensen was saying, which is that we're looking at a 10, 15, maybe even more year runway for quantum to actually be effective. So we'll have to see if, he's accurate on it or not. But anyway, Rigetti down big. It's basically closed out a little bit below 9 on Friday. Best it could do on the day, 837, but symphony of lower highs and lower lows. To see whether it goes to 5, though, let's zoom out here on the 4-hour. Okay, so we certainly have support back from mid-December. I want to say December 20th. We had a hold up at around 6 1/4 with the closing print being at around 7. So 6 1/4 could be in play. Below that, we also have support at 6 from essentially December 10th to when we cleared it, December 13th. So we had a consolidation area low of around $6. So $6 could be in play. Now, your question was 5. Well, sure. 5 takes us all the way back to the kind of resistance level that we used from, say, December 6th all the way to when we cleared it, December 8th. I'd look at 6 first, personally. And then if that gives way, I'd be looking at 5. But yeah, you're good point. I mean, quantum is getting crushed off that high. So for Rigetti specifically, that 21 1/3 high that we put in, I think, early Jan till now, we're down 71%. So it's been blood for Rigetti, and I'm assuming other quantum names as well, with the I guess the authoritative voice right now in computing, which is Jensen, making his opinion known, and the market reacted. Oscarito, Sharif, before all of that, I had a Palm Pilot. My man, so did I. And then I kind of got into the Compact. Neil got one as well. He's layered his hand. Compact, before they got bought out by HP, had like a very similar device as well. And this thing was sick, man. I mean, it had infrared. I could transfer data, infrared, and it had obviously Wi-Fi, and it was sick. But it became so obsolete when all that kind of stuff got weaseled into your phone.
What is a Palm Pilot?
I'll show you a picture over here. Yeah,
Palm Pilot. Yeah.
yeah.
I've heard of it. I've heard of these things.
Pilot. Here it is, Joseph.
Let's see what these things look
oh,
like.
Yeah.
Oh,
my
okay.
old man
Yeah.
This is the original one right here, man. It was like, I don't know what, Neil, what are these screens called? You know what I'm talking about, the dot screens. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though. He had the flip top. Neil said he had the one with the flip top. Yeah, these are Palm Pilots over here, bro. Look at the monster size. And they all came with pens and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
That's it. Well, one thing I want to touch on here, though, is just look at the evolution within technology, all right? And then I want to kind of compare that to the AI, artificial intelligence. As of right now, Sharif, we're just, that's interesting stuff, man. Yeah, that's insane. I never even seen that. But this is where I'm getting at. Kind of with the early stages of artificial intelligence. Right now we're at a stage, Sharif, where we just type into our computer and then we get a response from an LLM.
Yes, sir.
What happens when we step out of this realm? Like, you know what I mean? And we're in such early stages of this stuff, like a couple years even, that we've been in this since the AI craze. I know people have been using it for a long period of time. But what happens in the next 20 years? What happens in the next 10 years? What happens in the next 5 years? How are we going to see this stuff kind of accelerate and continue to grow? I think we step outside of the computers and we get into the humanoids and everything. Like, I think that's the next step. So.
And that was one of my remember we did that show on the Jimmy Carter Remembrance Day. I said one of the things that I was definitely looking for was the intersection between robotics and AI this year. And Jensen dropped the Jetson computer, which is small enough to be able to be put on like any humanoid robot or even other devices that could be autonomous as well. And the point of that is to make the processing unit for the humanoid or whatever the robotics small enough so that you could fit the form factor, right?
Right.
And it'll be obviously to be able to access small language models, large language models, be able to synthesize data like you would be on a computer. So I think the intersection between AI and robotics is a foregone conclusion. When it happens, I think is kind of the where reasonable people can disagree on that kind of thing, but
I think it's a matter of time. It's not an if. I don't think it's a when. It's just a when.
I agree.
I agree.
Let's see what everybody, bionic man and woman, says John DiPietro. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. I was talking to my buddies yesterday, so I was watching the football games at a buddies. I was like, man, we are just like, I don't know, a few years, maybe a decade before we walk around with exoskeletons like they did in Elysium, dude.
Dude, yeah,
and we
sign me up for that. Right?
Forget the gym, bro.
Yeah,
I want that exoskeleton.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be able to bench 10,000 pounds. I had a handspring.
But it doesn't benefit you, even if you can bench it.
It's useless at that point.
Yeah,
Everybody, if you're rich, you get strong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's exactly it. I can buy a stronger exoskeleton than you. But I think that's kind of where we're going, the intersection.
What do you think about that anti-aging stuff? Like, Brian Johnson, are you familiar with that guy?
I just started following the podcast, or the guy that helped Dana White.
Yeah,
you hear about this guy?
Yeah, well, that doctor that helped him, he's like, yeah, dude, you got.
So Gary Brecka, so he's got a pod, obviously. So I weaseled onto his pod. The first one I listened to was about seed oils, and it was not really very exciting. But a lot of these ones, you really got to give them the deep dive. But yeah, I think that's definitely another.
I know
AI could help advance that.
Absolutely.
Think about that with all the,
exactly.
the things that you can do. Like, AI is basically going to take a huge part of the drug development process and remove it
to that next stage.
Yeah. So all that like clinical stage stuff that you would have to do that could be synthesized and inferenced by AI, you'll be able to get around that, save money, increase the speed to market. So I think AI obviously has a lot to do with biotherapeutics as well. But the one that I don't know why, I like the one with robotics a little bit better.
Did you see what Brian Johnson? I don't know if you've seen that how he ages. So to every year a human ages, he only ages 8 months or something along those lines.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he's like slowed down the.
I've seen that guy.
Yeah. So he's slowed down the process. Yeah. He's slow. Yeah. It's called Don't Die.
Peter Man says it's on Netflix. It's called Don't Die.
Yeah. Don't die, but that's what he's doing. He's like trying to reverse time. He's like he just wants to hang out with his kid at that age. But again, he said so. So for every year that I age, he's only aging 8 months. Which
what is
he's
guy speed of light?
Yeah, he's slowed it down. So, but no, he takes like an absurd amount of vitamins. He's starting to get into that kind of where the genome, like gene editing and stuff like that. So he's definitely going down a different path. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't know how you feel about him, but he said that the person that's going to live forever is already alive or something like that.
Did he say forever though?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's what he said.
Neil.
Something along those lines.
Neil. But dude, like, I think the first person that's going to live, 150 years or whatever, the max, has already been born, because I think we're just headed there. Guys, okay, back to trading. I added here at VRME at 10s. It did dip into that $4 level again, and it's been holding the $4 level since 105. So the better part of an hour right now. I did add a little bit over here. I put my profit taker at the $0.25. I'm going to leave my third of $1 and the 41 there, just as I had planned prior to that. So we'll keep an eye out on VRME. It's up 64%, still not really giving up the ghost. I'm still involved in DJT because it hasn't given up the level. I mean, it's been holding that 10 exponential moving average very well. It seems like destined to take out that 4086 HOD. I'm talking about Donald John Trump. So we'll see exactly what we get there, and we will not get upset. Trump live forever, Ron Campbell. You're a joke, bro. All right. Shout out to Oscarito as well. I'm with you, brother. What else we got? What else? He'll be the person the aliens go to, says Rivian Millionaire. All right. Peptides, says the Texan. You follow Dan Bilzerian?
Yeah,
he goes down to Tijuana all the time. He's getting peptides and all that kind of stuff injected.
Is he doing like that blood transfusion?
I think so. I think that's what he's doing. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure, but he posts about, well, he used to. He hasn't been posting much anymore.
Yeah, he made all his money off of Instagram and gambling.
I love the air quotes. Water Lover says, not interested in living forever. Don't blame you. Let's see what a Bilbo bag holder. All I got from the doc is that the dude is out of his mind. Tell us how you really feel, Bilbo bag holder. Rohit Sharma, thanks for reposting, but no luck. Tag me, Rohit. Sorry, Bears Verbals, if you can just share his super chat between you and I directly. Sorry about that. I didn't have an opportunity to see it. I'd more than happy to answer his question, obviously. What else we got over here? Iron Man says, John DiPietro. I want NFL football to be played solely by robots, says El Sol. Hard pass, says Neil. He's not about that life. All right, let's see what we got over here. I just got it from okay, Sharif, do you use the SMA or EMA? Always EMA for intraday trading. That's just a personal choice. The reason I do that is because the exponential moving average more heavily weights the recent price action, so the data points that compose or that comprise the EMAs. You'll more heavily weight the recent ones, the periods, it's a 14-day or whatever it is, more heavily than the ones that are more historical. Now, when you're trading on a swing basis or for investing, I personally like SMA better. But for intraday trading, I use EMA. I definitely hope that helps. And sorry for not seeing your message earlier. Joseph.
Yeah, good point there. From an intraday standpoint, just to add on to the SMA and EMA, so in the calculation, the EMAs just have more weight calculated within it opposed to the simples. So solid point there, Sharif. But yeah, we're just sitting here in some Google as the market continues to just slowly crawl higher here. So this one worked out. We took an entry, got stopped out, and then we took that second entry here with a little bit better of a price, but I wanted to get out of this position just in case we broke VWAP and headed to the south side. But then as we broke out here, we went, we added to the position, and then sure enough, climbing to the highs of days. But let's take a look at some of our other trades here on the session. So IBIT didn't work out for us, unfortunately, but that's okay. A little bit extended from the volume weighted average price. I emphasize on this plenty enough, guys. Now you have to look at my risk to reward scenario here. So that's not good. If I was patient enough, just waited to get in an entry around here, then you can have your RVR significantly better with that VWAP stop loss. That VWAP being your stop loss, and sure enough, slowly appreciated, but starting to grind here, prolonging this 52 break that I think is going to happen at some point. But then let's take a look at TSLA here as well, guys. One of our better trades on the session. What is that? Is something grinding? Yeah, it's a saw. But here we go. Continuation in strength. We caught this one leg, but didn't take that second entry. That's okay because we caught Google. So there's that one. Going back to RVR, stop loss being the volume weighted average price, hitting that at like a 3 or 4 to 1 there, guys. So stop loss there. Nice move up on that front, and then back to Google to see what's going on with that. And then sure enough, we get this entry slightly closer to VWAP again, punch out just in case we breach, and then get back in at somewhat of a better price there. But yeah, guys, 2 minutes left here on the session. We're going to send it off to Adara, and then we'll close it out with you guys.
Just beware, I'm seeing this headline here from CNBC. Adam Mosseri, who is the head of Instagram, that's the name of his position because they are, of course, a subsidiary of Meta. Apparently, they're going to be prioritizing original content. This is basically a move to get more creators from TikTok once this TikTok ban, which is likely to go through, passes on January 19th. So again, META on Watch, the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, says the company's platform is going to be really prioritizing original content. Clearly a way here to get creators who, or I guess draw attention for creators who have left TikTok. There's also, I was reading this piece over the weekend as well, that a lot of these creators are already trying to pivot their feed to Instagram and YouTube. So keep an eye on GOOGL and META. They may be the companies that get the most of this TikTok tailwind, Sharif calls it, guys.
Yeah, that's the thing, Adara. They're panicking right now because they're about to lose a whole bunch of money if their feed dries up. I mean, the thing is, I don't think it dries up because you're just not going to have new users pile onto the platform. But again, like Joseph and I talked about, you won't be able to update the platform. You won't be able to re-download it if you removed it because it's not going to be available in the App Store. I think you'll have to jailbreak your phone. I don't even know if jailbreaking your iPhone is even possible anymore. I just haven't been following.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know if it is. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that really.
So in any event, I did look back in the day, right?
But
yeah, that's the look right now. So they're panicking. But here's the other side of the coin. Meta's algorithm for Reels is still hot trash. So you're gonna have a lot more people move on to Reels, but are they gonna be happy? That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So Ram saying a lot of people are basically looking at going to YouTube Shorts as opposed to Meta because they have prior beef with Zuck. We're not going to get into that, but thank you, Ram, for that. And to build on your point, Ram, I think you're very accurate on that because I believe India did ban TikTok, and what ended up happening was the majority of the Indian users who were using TikTok ended up weaseling onto shorts, not really reels. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
That's a good point because look what kind of these YouTubers, look at the money they've been making on it. You got Jake Paul, the Pauls, right, and everybody on YouTube. So.
All right, Joseph, how do we do on the Playmaker poll?
Playmaker poll, we were up $54 there. So it was a positive one here, Sharif. Yeah, bang. Nice bounce here on the equity curve. Let's go up to the data here, folks. I logged it for us. Let me zoom out here. So we had our entry here, Sharif, on our 23rd entry of 59.46, and then we exited today at 50.82. So about $1.44 shy of our 2-to-1 profit target, but we're closing out the trade positive, which is extremely good. $54 win, slowly starting to recover on the Playmaker.
I will take that, and with that, Joseph, it's 2:02 almost. So we're gonna send you to the big kahunas, Neil and Sean. Over here, Joseph and I see you same bad time.
Understanding VWAP tomorrow.
Hey.
Let's go.
Oh, that was like low key. They just sort of came out of nowhere with
I can't wait to learn all about VWAP.
Tomorrow's topic, understanding VWAP from the Bash Brothers. So I think that's a great topic. We talked